Check it out, check it out, check it out. This is Social Critics here. We got the host, Driss, Sumi, Curtis, Alpha, and your boy Bashir. How you guys doing today? I definitely fucked that up. That felt super weird.
Special guest. The special guest. Girl, you better get on that mic, girl.
Specialist ginger of them all.
She's a Cassie.
I'm not a ginger.
Sorry, guys. We skipped last week. Everybody was fucked up, and
Yo, I wasn't fucked up. Y'all were.
I don't remember.
We could have done a podcast, but we wanted to put out quality.
Yeah, we didn't want to have
been a
to
shit
force
podcast.
anything.
Hold on, what episode is this?
32?
33. This
32?
might be 33.
Wow.
Oh, the Social Critics?
Yeah.
Are you including the specials?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, episode 32. There
Gotcha,
we go.
32.
nigga.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's 32.
Yeah, bet. Oh, 20 to 18 away from our 50. That's going to be fire. My math is off.
No, you're right. Arithmetic.
All right, bet. We want to do a quick shout out for the social media. If you guys could go to Social Critics, social_critics with 2 S's
There you go.
at Instagram,
Yeah, on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, follow up. We appreciate y'all, man. And take somebody else's phone and follow us and leave some comments, and then take their phones, and then take your mama's phone. I mean, take your dog's phone.
Your dog don't got a phone, but subscribe us on iTunes podcast too.
Oh, I
Give us a
just
subscribe.
And Spotify. We're on Spotify
And we're on
too.
Spotify.
We're
Yeah.
also on Spotify.
I was
Are we on
listening to
Spotify?
us on Spotify.
Oh, that's dope.
Ooh,
Spotify has
fire.
that type of
They
do
have podcasts
I
on
didn't know
Spotify.
that.
Yeah, I actually listened to something on those.
That's dope.
It's pretty cool.
All right, let's get into this shit storm we've been having this past week or two.
There's a lot of stuff that happened.
It was, and we
After
chopped
we-
it down to a decent good amount that we fucked with.
We chose a good week to come back.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So y'all want to start with Kanye?
Kanye-Z.
Okay, first of all, Driss and I were talking about this. So much respect for John Legend when he texted him back and said, "Since you're posting everything, I have a new single out." And he promoted his music. Did you guys see the tweet?
No, I didn't see that.
So
that shit was funny.
basically, Kanye was going. So the controversy started. He posted a tweet supporting Trump, and all these celebrities and his buddies were texting him like, maybe you shouldn't talk about that because you have such a big fan following base who aren't Trump supporters. And then one of the texts was from John Legend, who basically talked about what an inspiring artist he is and everything. And just like how he probably shouldn't post about it because a lot of the colored people are suppressed who are his followers.
Did he say
Trump's-
colored in the text message?
No.
I don't think he said colored. He basically meant, well, yeah, he did. I think he said,
That's funny.
I think he said something. I can pull it up.
Did he say
but
people of color?
I think he said
Okay.
people of color.
People of color.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then Kanye posted the conversation on Twitter, and then
Oh,
John
Jesus.
Legend texted him back and said, obviously, like basically, like I still love you, but by the way, I have a new single coming out since you're posting shit.
That's clowning.
I don't really like
Marketing.
John Legend or his wife.
Chrissy
I don't
Teigen.
like
you.
their faces.
You can go fuck yourself.
A lot of
I don't
people
like
don't
their
like. A lot of
faces.
people don't like Chrissy Teigen. They don't think it's funny. Alpha.
She
What?
used to be.
I mean, I think she's a beautiful woman. I don't think she's
I don't
funny.
think
Beautiful.
she's cute to me.
I think her
Yeah.
personality is funny. That's why I find her attractive.
I'm
Not
not
because
saying
she
her
looks.
personality-
For
Hold on,
real?
I'm not even saying that she's like a shit person. I'm just like, yeah, I don't find her to be funny.
I just feel like
at all.
over the past couple of years, like what I thought was funny about her just kind of went down.
Fizzled.
I love her.
I think she's just extra.
I think every girl I know likes her, which is cool. You can like her. Oh, yeah.
Cassie
No.
doesn't like her.
Cassie, okay, cool.
You don't like
I
her?
love her.
It's
I
like
love her.
it's
Right
like
on,
Amy
Cassie.
Schumer. Every girl, a lot of girls I know like her.
I'm not
and
a
I
big
don't know.
Amy
I know a lot of
Schumer.
people
Okay,
that
No.
I don't know
I don't
any
fuck
dudes
with
who
her.
like her, bro.
I'm not
I
a
don't think
big
she's
fan.
funny.
She's
At
not.
all.
She's not funny.
She's funny in some of her movies, but like her stand-up's not funny, nor is she funny when she does her like own show.
You know what? It's not that she's not funny. She's just corny.
That's
Yeah,
what it is. She's
maybe.
trying too hard.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
trying too hard.
But so,
John Legend too, though.
Yeah.
but you know what Kanye?
That's why I like Chrissy Teigen though. My bad.
Well, yeah,
no, go ahead,
She
go
doesn't
ahead,
try
go
too
ahead.
hard.
Finish
No,
your
she
point.
doesn't try too hard. She's just her and his people don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Kanye.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about him being a Trump supporter?
I don't care. I just don't understand why the need to voice that so publicly.
Well, it's album time, duh.
That's it. I think it's
That-
bullshit.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that's
like,
literally
damn.
Honestly,
somebody
anything-
did a whole rollout on that. Pissed off too. Oh, Papoose.
What'd he say?
Ooh.
He's just talked a whole bunch of shit. Like, man, he was saying, y'all need to. He basically told the public stop being so lenient on these rappers who just using shit like this to promote their art versus just letting their art speak for itself.
He's done this since 07. If you look at the
Yeah.
timeline,
Facts.
50 versus Kanye album rollout. Not my beautiful.
I feel like 50 set that up though.
Sure, but it's still
true.
Both the labels set that up.
Yeah.
Dark Twisted.
It was
Twisted Fantasy.
808s. I think
that was
came before
808s.
that. And now his
Yeah.
mother passed, so that sucked. But that album.
Did you see that he was gonna make the cover the plastic surgeon that killed his mom?
No way.
for
Yeah.
808s or this?
No, for this album.
Oh.
He like there's a
He was
like,
gonna do what?
So he screenshot a message to someone called Wes, or it might be someone else sending him. Either or. It was the picture of the surgeon, and his mom died after post like surgical
breast
Complications.
reduction. Yeah, I think she was getting
Complications.
breast
That's how she-
reduction.
Yeah.
Something.
And so he was like, "Should I call
She
it?"
died from a breast reduction?
Or implants, one of the two.
Yeah, I think it was
What?
implants because he's a plastic surgeon.
Okay, yeah.
His
okay, yeah.
mom?
Yeah, so
I never knew that.
Yeah, and he was like, "I don't know what I should call this because I want to forgive this dude." He's like, "Call it Love Everybody." He goes, "Oh, I love that." And it's gonna be the picture of that nigga.
Oh,
It might be.
That's gonna be so. I don't even know what word I would use for that.
Well, you know what's interesting though is Kim Kardashian came back with like a bunch of rebuttal tweets. Like she's like, I just don't understand how you can call my husband say that he has a mental problem. She's like, he's literally voicing his opinion.
yeah. That's a
And
great
she-
point.
Yeah,
That's
which
a
I
good
actually.
mental problem.
Well, I had her stance on that because it's not fair if somebody goes off on social media, all of a sudden you're going to classify them as a mental health issue.
Because he likes Trump. That's
Right.
literally like saying 50 million people or 60 million
Hold on,
people
are
all
we-
have a
hold
mental.
on.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They using
Are we
him
not
as an
saying
example.
Kanye has a mental?
I
don't
think he's
think
been
he
through
does.
a lot of
I think
shit.
it's crazy.
How do you not have mental issues
Exactly.
from what he's gone through, though?
I think he's
mean,
just more like calculated.
I think
That's
he's
crazy.
Strategical.
Yeah.
It's album time. He's coming out and saying, "I'm a Trump supporter,"
I
because
think
he
it's all
knows,
bullshit too.
and it's because he knows that we're still going to listen to his music. I don't care what his political viewings are, but we're also going to listen to his music.
That grabs
Now-
more to the mainstream.
Yeah,
He's already.
It's going to
mainstream,
reach
though.
the Trump supporter who would never listen to him.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be like, well, I'm going to listen or support this album just because he came out and said he likes Trump.
I really don't.
Do you think
care
that's
for-
gonna work?
Yeah.
I don't think
I think
Kanye
it
is
is.
somebody that I respect as a person, but I think he's inspiring as an artist, and I think the way he goes about promoting himself
Some of
is
the things,
unique.
some of the things he was saying is like, all right, don't play the victim. All right, I can co-sign that.
Yeah,
He's constantly playing the good guy or the bad guy.
someone's
Usually it's the
got
bad
Plays
guy.
both.
well, it's lately
It's
it's been
usually
the
the
bad
bad guy.
guy.
Like when he got humbled and shit after he went on Breakfast Club by Charlamagne and all that, that's when he was like, yeah, I need to pay attention more to Tiana Taylor and I need to start treating my fans a little bit more respect. But then after that phase, it was like, oh, back to Trump.
I like one of the tweets he had though. He said, I'm a fan of me. Or my fans are people who are fans of themselves. I'm like, that's kind of dope.
Hey, that's real.
That's nice.
It's
Hey,
not
that's
like
kinda
that's what
fire,
I'm
though.
saying when people are saying that he
that
has a
is
mental
fire.
disorder. I'm like, bro, no, he doesn't. It's album time, and he knows this will stir up a lot of controversy.
Still crazy,
The last
man.
album
Yeah.
was he going at Wiz for some shit right around album time?
Oh yeah. And real shit.
Yeah, like it's calculated.
KK, the KK shit.
I ain't
Yeah,
even
it's
waiting on
calculated.
his. I'm waiting on him and Cuddy.
See, that's
Yeah,
what I don't like
so-
about
yeah.
all this fucking.
It's now
noise.
we're talking about
Question,
his antics.
I got
Did he-
mad
Oh,
because I got excited when he released that him and Cuddy have a project coming out.
Mhm.
I'm excited. Yeah, let's do this shit. Fuck yeah, what's going on now?
Still
All right.
excited.
And then he comes out with all this noise with the Trump shit. I don't give a fuck about it. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. Now I'm not excited.
I like what you're saying. Because can we just do this now? I don't give a fuck about anyone's political leanings anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I wish we could go back to a time where we remember when it was taboo to talk about your political
yeah.
leanings and shit. Let's go back to that.
And we talked about this before,
That's
where it's like
never gonna
I don't
happen,
want
though.
politics.
I don't
in
think
my
it'll
music.
go.
Um,
I don't
Oh,
want
I don't need
politics.
it.
I don't need it. I
yeah.
don't care. I mean, if it sometimes it's dope in the music, but I don't want it. in
But
my
you know,
music.
sometimes it's not even about him like shoving it in your face. If he just posts, like he could try to do it on a low, but he's so massive,
It's everyone.
it's gonna get
Yeah.
everywhere. You feel me?
quick question. Did he have a name or title for the album that he's about to drop?
That's what he said. That's what I was talking about
That's
on the
what he was
message.
talking
He was
about,
like, "Should I call it Love Everybody?"
If you would pay attention,
With
Tris,
that-
maybe-
Sorry.
I thought he was making a song. Like that was
No,
just
no.
a
He's like,
song.
"What should I call this album?" He's like, "Love Everybody."
Yeah, I'm excited
Maybe.
for the Cuddy
I
joint.
have his
Let's-
have the cover. That's
So
crazy.
here's my thing. Kanye's more than he's well within his right to express his political view.
Yep.
The same way LeBron was well within his right to express his, and then like that Laura Ingraham lady went at him
Yeah.
and said to shut up and dribble. I don't like that at all.
Damn.
People are allowed to fucking say however they feel.
I mean, they're inspired by politics
Sure, yeah.
and stuff around them. So if they have an opinion about it, that's
Yeah,
great.
you can say however you feel. So if I'm gonna, on one hand, defend LeBron and his right to say something, I'm
That's
gonna
what-
have to defend Kanye. I just don't care.
But I still hold people to self accountability. Like if you know you in the eyes of a lot of people, just be careful of what you say or how
Especially
you
if-
But he
influence.
does
You
it
can
on
say you
purpose.
don't care, but then if you got a son who's doing or saying whatever
Yeah.
he's saying, then you be like, all right, I do care what you
He
talk about
influences-
now.
he
Yeah,
Because you're
yeah.
influencing my kids.
But I have more influence over my kid. That's
You
where
should.
parents
That's
shouldn't
also-
let parents
You
shouldn't let
should.
them
But
have-
you know,
I like that.
but you know,
Alpha.
with a voice like Kanye that just like reaches in masses, you know, it's just like
Yeah.
everything
See,
that
you-
Kanye says
kids
seems
rebel
like,
on that theory.
like butter.
That's what I was just about to
Yeah.
get to.
Kids
You
rebel.
you don't have that when they're adolescents.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think back to when I was a teenager. If
But
an
you
artist
wasn't-
had like a huge, well, I
Hell
mean, he
yeah.
has an influence on culture. Period. Like whether I want to acknowledge that I'm avidly going out and buying Yeezy Boost, I'm not. But I also see the influence he has on everyone else buying the Yeezy
Yeah, but
Boost
those
and shit
kids
like
are
that.
destined for doom. I mean, look at their mom is Kim, and
these
she's
are-
literally coming
yeah.
out with a. Have you seen her new perfume? They molded her body. It's
Oh.
literally so inappropriate, though. Like the actual perfume bottle is her body molded,
It's kind
and
of
she like put. It is cool. It is really cool, but like
Got a
she
big
also
ass
posted
diaper on the
pictures
bottom
of
of
her
that
basically
motherfucker.
naked and covering her body.
I saw a tweet
I got
that
a
was
diaper
said,
on the bottom.
the evolution of Jay-Z and Kanye shows how influential your wife can be to your life. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's good.
Jay Z became more conscious. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I guess that's a true point.
Like you know what? That's,
Like, no, I mean,
bro, that's so crazy. Like why are they so opposite? Jay-Z and B and Kanye and Kim.
Well, they're different people. Bro.
They're just
I mean,
awesome.
yeah,
Complete
but it's
different
like,
people.
bruh, Jay-Z is more massive than Kanye.
Well,
I believe he
what do you
is.
mean? Are you talking about like rapping wise? Are you talking influence over
because
culture?
that nigga is in fucking meetings with the Nets owners
okay.
of Nets and building
All right.
stadiums.
So
I would
we
say
have different,
Kanye's
we have
nowhere
different
near that yet.
definitions of influence. Then Jay-Z pushes shit behind the scenes.
Business.
Kanye is
Yeah.
more
No, yeah,
visible
Jay-Z
with
got
his.
power.
Yeah, okay, then that's
That's
a
a better
better
good
term.
way to
Kanye
put it.
has more influence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jay-Z has more power.
I got something funny.
Okay.
Imagine Alpha and Yeezys.
Why is that funny? I don't know.
I feel like the Red Octobers would be funny,
That
bro.
would be hilarious.
Yeah, nah, I mean,
Red October.
nah, I think I like his shit. I'm just not buying it.
I'm not feeling these.
So I was
ones.
just said when you said that, I just imagine you and Yeezys, and that's when I just
Yeah, I guess it would be mad hypocritical if I went out and buy Yeezys
You know
now.
what the thing is though? It's just us not liking what he's doing. That's it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You know
You're
what it
saying
is?
A lot
us
of
like
people
I
do,
care.
though.
I don't. I thoroughly don't care.
black people.
You know what it is? It's
Oh,
Let's go.
okay.
Let's go to black
You know
community.
the thing about Kanye that
Yeah.
I just feel weird is just that like since graduation, this is not the Kanye from graduation that we're talking about. Like he just like
But I've
went
never,
downhill.
I've
Like,
never,
it's-
I've never
see,
been that though.
But why
I
are we
like when
saying-
people change up.
Why are we saying that he went downhill? The album about Amber, My Beautiful Dark Twisted
Fire.
Fantasy, might be his best album.
That was a good album.
Fire.
yeah, that was
and
production wise, in my opinion.
No,
I
no,
think.
I'm saying
I
song,
liked 808s
bro,
too.
Songs.
I
after
think
joint after
Twisted
joint on
Fantasy,
it.
bro. I think that might have been his
Yeah,
best one.
to
me.
For me, it's late registration. But the more
To
I
me,
hear,
it might be Mark.
Well, I'm saying
Fantasy.
everything that graduation, like what it was talking about, what it stood for. You know what I'm saying? Like it was more like black empowerment and just.
well, that's
like,
more. That was more.
culture.
That was more his first
But
album.
that's what we were
That was
saying.
more his
No,
first
But
album.
that's what I'm saying.
But
though.
you
It's just
can't.
like,
But I think he's
No, it
evolved.
was a little bit after.
Exactly.
I guess I
You
can't
can't
hold
hold. You can't hold him to that. Everybody changes,
Yeah,
bro.
that
But
was
that's like the-
13 years ago.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying,
I
bro.
feel like that's what I'm saying is that I'm not holding him to that, but I'm thinking like what is everybody else's feeling like that? I feel like that's what other people are upset about. They're
I
just
think he's
seeing-
evolved.
They're
I don't
seeing
think
that side of they're thinking of the old Kanye now.
People
they're seeing this
change.
new side of Kanye, and it's just like, bro, what?
I'm tired of people just being blatantly hypocritical.
I think
Like,
I
that's
honestly
what
think,
it is.
bro, like your woman is another version of you. I think it was just ever since he got with Kim.
So you're saying the influential?
Like
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it might have seemed like he went later on down the line for more public, mainstream media because he got
Can
with her
we talk-
because they are that.
Well,
Can we
you-
t- oh, go
no,
ahead.
go.
No,
I was just,
I like that.
you know,
I
the
like
thing
that
with
one.
Kim and Kanye too is like in the midst of all these like celebrity divorces and breakups, like they have been so strong since they've been together, and they've both been excelling at
Yeah,
what they
I love
do.
how
I
they
mean,
rock.
her KKW line is booming. Like whether her perfume smells good or not, it's sold out within days of it being released. And all
go
his,
ahead.
I mean, well, even like the way he promotes his clothing and his line, he puts Kim out there in it, and people are taking pictures.
That was the point.
See,
I was.
but that
but
was a
the point I
great
was trying
marketing
to. The
scheme.
point I was like, it's kind of. You said that the wife makes the husband better. I think she kind of had like he left Nike, went to Adidas. That was a huge career move, and his career in the fashion sense exploded. So in one sense, I maybe that partly was her. I don't know.
I think she definitely influenced him, helped him a lot in the fashion sense.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and
music
like,
wise, you're saying
and linking.
I don't
him
think.
with
Not, you know what? I don't think she helped. Well, I think he's always had his fashion creativeness. She just opened more doors.
That's
for
what I'm
him.
saying.
Well, but they've been
Yeah.
friends forever. You have to remember, even when she was married and dating other
They were on the
people.
Kardashians.
Yeah,
He was on the Kardashians.
and then
the
when
show.
he came back
Wow.
into her life romantically, that's when they
That was funny.
got
'Cause
married.
on the show. He's like in. Was he in? Was
Can't
he
watch.
just in a suit or was it a mink coat?
Oh,
One of
I
those.
was something.
But you can see
Yeah,
him spit
Bashir
into
watches the
Kim.
show.
I mean,
I watch it. I
got
just
five
funny.
sisters.
I've seen episodes. I'm not above watching
But,
an
like,
episode or
I probably
two.
watched
Yeah,
it.
I haven't seen
It's
it.
a
I
hot
haven't watched
mess.
You can
it.
see it forming right there. I'm gonna bring that clip up for you guys, but you can see it form like him spit into Kim, like, oh, let's have like dinner or something. And that's like started it all, and it's recorded on TV. And now here we are.
And I don't know who said. You notice that he's doing a marketing scheme. I think they're so massive. Like that's what gets on our nerves about Kanye sometimes is like, we see what you're doing now versus, when somebody do something new and different, it's like, that was hard how you did that. If we could see it a mile away, like, oh, Kim is wearing some grunge clothes. Kanye did it.
But if people
Yeah.
get upset, but people are still getting upset knowing that he's doing it.
But
That's
niggas,
like
I think it's just because we know it's
didn't
coming
know
now.
that though, because she was rocking. It was one day she was rocking 9 different outfits on one day.
Yeah.
Which is
She-
like a week later
It's like a
or 2 weeks
costume
later,
change.
it was actually like all his season, whatever season's coming up.
Yeah.
I mean,
all the
but
clothing.
you can see it. Kim has never rocked like track pants with like heels. Like nobody was.
But she's taken fashion risks even well before him, and she's the best person
But
to
I think
do
it was always still girly though.
You know the
Like,
thing with
Yeah, it
Kim
was
is-
definitely girly.
Yeah.
It was definitely
I
girly.
heard this from like girls' points where she would take something that people are doing already, and then she will blow it up. So now it's blown up, and if you're doing that same shit still, you're like, oh, you're just trying to be Kim.
See,
It's
that's
like,
what sucks.
no, I was actually doing this, sweetie. Like,
That's everything.
That's everything.
Yeah, that's everything.
That's
True,
literally
true.
me with
True.
like, all right, so I listened to Wiz Khalifa, I fucked with his shit, and then he gets big, and now everyone like,
Oh, you just a bandwagon.
yeah, now you're a band. Like it's like that just happens. So
Yeah.
That's
girls, get over it. But I do want to point out like the hypocrisy that people like Republicans or people on the right will always say, well, we shouldn't give a fuck what celebrities think, yada yada yada. And the moment Kanye comes out
Definitely
and
don't
says,
believe that.
oh yeah, bro. The moment Kanye comes out and says, yeah, I like Donald Trump, they're like, we're championing Kanye now. It's like, y'all are all fucking hypocrites. Weren't you the people saying we shouldn't give a fuck about what Hollywood thinks?
Yeah.
Now you give a fuck what he thinks because he's on your side. Like
Yeah.
that's probably the only major problem I have out of all of this. I don't care that he's black and a Republican. Great.
No. The best
Good
news
for
he's
you,
dropped to
bro.
me though is that Pusha T album. I'm like, that's
That'll
all.
be
That's what
hard.
I'm waiting. That's what I'm waiting
That's first,
for.
too,
bro.
I
isn't
think
it?
I think it's
That's
more.
May
I think
29th?
I'm looking forward more to Kanye and Cudi, but
I'm looking forward
How
to
many
it.
albums is he
Yeah.
producing?
Oh, did you hear his first song? Did you hear the song he dropped?
I heard it was gonna be like 7 tracks or something.
Yeah, he
For-
said 7. And I was listening to something where they split it up, or they said, or a conspiracy where it's like, it was actually like a 14 song album. But then like you realize like, yo, me and Cudi just killed it on like 7 of these. Let's split it up.
They should do 7
So it's like
Kanye,
7.
7 Cudi,
Oh.
and then 7 together.
that makes sense.
That
I
would
feel
make
like
sense.
that shit happens
Or
all the time.
five.
Did you hear his new song?
No.
No,
Kanye
I didn't
dropped?
listen to it. Everybody going
Was it
crazy
with-
for
with
it.
I
though.
didn't
T.I.?
I didn't go reach for it.
I think I saw some. It's featuring
Every-
T.I.?
I don't know.
Everybody
Okay,
going crazy
well,
for it.
I think.
Oh, you heard it?
Yeah.
No, I think we
No,
should move
because
on
now
to
we're-
the
now we're
next
getting-
topic.
We made that nigga a main topic. Shit.
No, yeah. I mean, people are passionate about Kanye.
Shut-
No,
Shout
it
out
is. We
Kanye.
could go on
Shout
about
out
him,
Kanye.
but I mean, there was a
Speaking
lot
of
of things that
Kanye.
happened.
Hold on. Yo, before we
Oh,
switch topics, dude, this man Kanye he just released the album cover, and it is The Surgeon.
Is it?
It's
For
The Surgeon.
real?
Wow.
Breaking news.
Wow. Boom, boom, boom.
That killed his mom?
That's the,
I mean, we can't see it. Listeners can't see it, but
Yeah.
we'll check.
Just you can Google it. You can
fucking
Google it.
wild.
Let me see.
Wow.
Let me pick it up, bro.
Yeah, just pick
Pause.
it up, turn it around. Sorry, listeners, you can't see this, but this
Yeah,
nigga,
that's what I was talking about.
that's the black man who killed his mom.
Oh, here's a good transition.
That's a bad picture.
Blaming killings.
Killings.
Putting the blame on
Speaking of-
killing.
yeah.
So the Waffle House shooter. Can
Where
we,
did this
can you
take
look
place?
up the name of the guy who, not the
Rescue?
shooter himself, but the dude who
Tackled him.
saved
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was in
So we can
Nashville,
shout
and it
him
was
out.
My
4
brother-
people
My
died.
brother.
I was in
Shout out my
Nashville.
brother.
Yeah.
He's not related to you.
He's still my brother.
No, but there were 4 people that died, and he was a naked gunman too.
Was he a black dude?
That's
White
the
dude?
worst
White
thing.
guy. He
The
was a
last
white
thing
guy.
you're gonna see is a white dick swinging around. Bye, nigga. While you eat
Well,
your
let's just be
waffles.
clear. I'm sure. I don't know about this dude's genital situation. I'm sure it wasn't swinging.
Oh, whoa.
His name is the
Is he
hero.
sitting on his balls?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, this is the guy. He
Yeah,
was-
so the Waffle House shooting hero, his name is James Shaw Jr.
Salute to that man.
So he's the
young
one who
man.
tackled
He's a
him.
young
Shout out to my
dude,
brother.
right? He looked
Yeah,
like he was pretty
he
young.
looks pretty old. I give him a lot of props though, because after the whole shooting fiasco went down, he went ahead and raised. It says $165,000 for the victims. That's
awesome.
dope.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
That's really
dope.
cool.
Well, did
that's
they ever
good.
find the motive behind his shootings?
Some are
He was
saying it's
naked. That's enough
race-related.
motive. That's enough motive for me. You naked, bro. You
I,
retarded.
I don't know. I don't quote me. I don't know if that's the case. I believe.
Yeah, but in Nashville, I mean, a
Yeah,
southern
it
state,
happened to be
that's-
4 black people who were killed.
I'm saying
So,
if you go to Waffle
includes
House with a
religion.
gun, if you're going to shoot people at Waffle House, it might have to be race related.
That's what I
You're
was just
looking
talking
for
about.
black
people. Yeah,
I was
I
just
don't
talking
know.
about Waffle House. Like they invite. I feel like they're inviting negativity. Like any place like that that's open 24 hours, and you're everywhere.
And
like
it's a
you're gonna get
staple.
something bad.
And it's a staple for drunk people to go
Yes, like you're
Yeah.
gonna get something bad's gonna happen.
It's scary though. I mean, just a Waffle House. Like,
Exactly.
You wouldn't picture, and the fact like he's labeled as the Waffle House shooter. That is so crazy.
there. Bashir, to
Yeah,
your
that
point,
feels
man,
crazy.
imagine going out seeing that nigga just naked
And when are you going to Waffle House?
when you're faded.
Yep, at night you had a great night.
Wow.
You about to eat good.
Alpha, don't you go to Waffle House most of the time?
yeah, I have.
Right
you in
when-
cahoots, bro.
Yeah. Well,
Right when that story dropped,
shit,
yo,
not going anymore.
right when that story dropped, this girl like the night of was like, "Oh yeah, I'm at Waffle House right now." And I was like, "Oh cool, whatever." I'm on IG. I see Waffle House shooting. I was like, "Ho, run, get it to go, bitch."
He said, "Get it to go, bitch."
It did take a couple days though to get him, like track him
Yeah,
down.
he was in the woods
on
and
the
shit.
loose. Yeah,
was in the
for-
Was he
Woods?
naked still?
Yeah.
He just
I
naked
don't know
on
if he
the-
was naked.
I don't know if he what he. I mean, he left. I think naked.
Hold on, what do you mean track him
So
down?
did he kill people and got away?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think
Did the
I
guy
don't-
tackle him? Or
they
did he-
tackled him,
Yeah, what
but
the
they were
fuck?
trying to
Because
find
look,
him
there's
for
a
a few
picture
days.
of him like arrested.
Yeah, because they just caught him like a couple days ago. He
Dude.
was on the loose for a few days.
So, and apparently, so a little
He
bit of
looked drugged
backstory. His dad had taken the gun. He was at the White House.
The shooter?
Yeah, this was I don't know how long ago. So he wanted to meet the president. So he was
Oh,
on the White
God.
House lawn. So they did a background check, obviously, and they were like, "All right, this dude's a little wild. Take his guns away from him." So the FBI, Secret Service, and shit, like they all knew about him, and so
Yeah,
his,
they said something about hacking his computer, huh?
yeah, something to that ilk. And his dad took the guns away from him because he was forced to,
Yeah.
and then his dad gave the guns back to the guy.
Oh.
So they're saying they could hold the dad accountable in contempt too.
Yeah.
Assisting a murder, some assisted murder, some shit like that. So this is a crazy story, bro.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, but
it is.
that ties back into all this mental health stuff.
How
and
old was he?
He looked like he was young.
He looked
looked
like
he
young.
He was in
like
his late 20s.
Yeah, he looked like
It's
he was probably
crazy with
20,
these
21.
school shoot. Like it's been a lot of white men too.
Yeah.
What's crazy about it? But it's been. I mean, like the Vegas shooter
Why do
was
you
older.
guys think that is?
I don't know. I just almost feel like there's a need to assert dominance in some way, whether it's, I don't know, like the Vegas motive behind the Vegas shooter, but with this guy, like it seemed to be race. But even in like
Sure.
school shootings, it's been a white male
Parenting?
typically.
I don't know if it's parenting. I mean, because if someone's mentally ill, I don't think that has nothing to do with the parents.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to see signs for your kids,
Yeah.
like if you're noticing something, but I don't know if you can really.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
I don't know why it happens to just be why it particularly is young white boys, men
Yeah.
who are doing this. a good
Speaking
question.
of men doing terrible things,
Billy Cosby.
Oh, Theo.
so he got.
This is
Hold on, was that Somebody wants some pudding.
That meme.
It's confirmed that that nigga. He's not blind. He's not blind.
When he was walking out the
He's
courtroom,
not
what was
blind.
that shit?
He
When
was yelling at the prosecutor.
He was not
He-
blind.
Who?
I'm talking about Bill Cosby.
Yeah, he was
walking out
Did he
the-
yelling
lean back?
Oh, I don't know, but he yelled
that
at the
was so
prosecutor.
sad.
You see, they
I don't
put
know.
a meme
He did
on
it twice though.
They said they put a meme on a loop where it's like, now lean back. I was like, yeah,
Also,
stop.
he was yelling at the prosecutor. I didn't
Yeah,
see this.
so he got his sentencing, which I think is both. I mean, the guy's 80, so it's whatever. But
Just give
it's
the nigga
kind of
life.
annoying. He got 10 years up to 3 counts of assault or whatever. But it's like 50 people came forward So he's getting 30 years essentially, but he's 80. So keep that in mind.
He's gonna die.
What if he makes
think?
it?
But
I
it's
think.
like-
I think. I think. If you're that old, I mean, taking in consideration your celebrity, also, don't send him to jail, but just your bank account is done. Like everybody gets your money.
I mean, he might as well be. You might as well just go to
I
jail.
mean, he
Yeah,
looks
might as well just go to
rough in his pictures.
But that's
and
what I'm saying,
everything.
bro. What is that going to serve now? You're not doing nothing. Just hit his bank account something crazy. If it was 50 people, who sued him, give each one $5 million.
He's gonna be getting a lot of putting in jail.
Niggas ain't about to fuck his old ass,
Pop the pill.
Niggas ain't about to fuck him, bro.
Never know, Curtis.
He might not even go to He might not even go to a prison.
He's gonna go to a comfy.
Yeah, he
jail.
gonna have a tennis court in this shit, bro.
He's gonna go to the Martha Stewart jail. you know?
Exactly.
Speaking of Martha Stewart, she's bad.
No, she's not.
When she was
she's
younger?
not.
Yes,
When
yes,
she
she
was
was-
when she was
younger.
I
younger.
would still fuck her 70-year-old ass.
She's a good-looking older woman.
She looks
but
great.
I wonder what her bank account like. Her shit's probably stupid.
Yeah.
Her-
Let's look
the
that
show
shit
with
up.
her and Snoop Dogg is
Sucks 'cause you
actually
can't get her pregnant.
Yo, Snoop Dogg was hating on Kanye heavy. I don't bring it back. But Snoop
Back to-
Dogg hates that nigga.
Snoop Dogg
Snoop Dogg hates who?
Kanye, bro.
Why?
He's replying to everything like everyone.
I feel like Snoop
posting.
has never liked Kanye though.
I believe that too.
I don't think he doesn't like people that are not chill.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to Billy Cosby and Puddin'.
But yeah.
Alpha, just in case you wanted to know, Martha Stewart's bank account
I wanted to know.
Doesn't matter.
638 million.
Jesus Christ!
Damn.
What the for selling fucking home decor? What the fuck?
600.
I mean, she's a miracle worker with her fucking.
But
She looks
people
great.
like,
You
but
don't
that's what
sit
I'm
here
saying.
and say
She's
Mar-
been around for so
You don't sit
long.
here and say Martha Stewart doesn't look amazing.
She does for her age. Yeah,
She was great.
She does.
Yeah,
She was
know
beautiful
about
when she was
her
young, though.
She looks great for 70. Yeah,
Oh, she's 70?
Yeah, you know white women don't age well.
You're
and
right.
look at her.
You're right. 70.
I gotta
Alpha's
stop
gonna get a
drinking
lot of
on the
heat for that. You're gonna get a lot of heat for that.
I was joke. It was a joke.
No.
My fault, yo.
That's fat.
Speaking of Bill Cosby,
But yeah, no. I mean, so what do you guys think he should have gotten more? Or does it matter at this point?
it doesn't matter.
But
He's not a dog.
it could be a matter of
Here's my thing.
justice.
Put him in fucking jail, bro. You went off. You slipped pills into the drinks of at least 50.
Take
Those
all
are the
his
50
money.
that. Those
Take
are the
all
50
his
that
money.
came out.
Yeah.
Yo,
But him in jail at this age, listen, I mean, if he go, he go. I don't care.
I don't think
him
it's
in
about-
jail at this age. What is it? He's 80 fucking years
don't think-
old.
I don't
Just
think it's
take
for
all
him.
his
Well,
money.
Because
Honestly,
here's the
there's a
thing.
story that just came out saying
think-
that he might not even go to jail.
I think it's
Oh,
for the
wow.
victims, though.
sure. Yeah. Okay.
It's
That's-
justice.
that's
It's
good.
not
relief. I mean,
they
but
were
it's been
crying
30
right
years.
after. Like right at, but they were crying. You should have saw a video.
Yeah,
Like,
but
they
you
were-
can't. You
I don't be
can't.
trusting all that shit, bro. Niggas want to do that shit because them cameras is on.
That's
and
true.
I don't fuck
But what
with
if they're
none of
not?
And
Sorry.
America's
Bill
dad.
that. He was America's dad.
well,
He
I mean,
was.
hey, back to the cognitive dissonance though.
Fuck that.
Bill
Uncle Phil, my
Cosby,
dad,
bro. Bill Cosby would tell all of these young black people to pull their pants up, and this nigga has been pulling pants down while
For a
girls are
minute.
unconscious for years.
Boom.
Yeah.
Alpha, good one.
Oh,
I like that.
High five. All right.
He got
That was
a.
a
He got a.
promo.
They took a little clip out the for like Foresight. They took a little clip out the show where he was talking about his barbecue sauce. He was like, "Have you ever noticed when people eat my barbecue sauce, they want to, get loose and da da da."
Wait,
And
what?
they was like,
Off the Cosby Show?
yeah, bro, it was serious.
There's
bro.
interviews
Hold
of
on,
him
yo.
using Spanish Fly and talking about Spanish Fly like it's nothing.
Bro.
I want to
Yo.
know how often they did that back. It can't just be him.
I want to know the hoagies he ate
probably
in that Cosby Show, bro.
Hoagies.
Every hoagie was just like a
Yo.
sandwich. He'll be ready. He like, get ready, sit down, have
What's-
the drinks and
what's
shit.
What's
Shut up.
Zoe Kravitz's mom's name?
Bad.
Lisa
Bonet.
Bonet.
Lisa Bonet.
She's married
They
to.
both
She was
bad.
married. Yeah.
that's
you
bad.
said
Never
that.
go
I said
Eric
Zoe
Bonet.
Kravitz.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But yeah, shit. First off, still looks amazing.
Yeah.
Always looked amazing.
Bad.
She did.
Them dreads.
I hope he
Oh.
didn't try to get her.
He probably did.
Wow.
Well, you know what makes me uncomfortable too is
She
like
said something.
Raven Simone was on the show as a little
Oh
girl.
yeah, she was like a kid.
Yeah.
I think Lisa Bonet came out and said something.
That he tried to.
Lisa
I don't know
Bonet
about
is
that. He
bad.
tried. I don't want to jump on
Ooh,
that.
that's
Okay.
a good picture.
But even like the mom, she's the what was her name? Was it Rashida? I can't remember her real
Felicia
name.
Rashad.
Felicia Rashad. That's
Felicia Rashad. Oh my
She
God! Hold on,
is
hold on,
a mom.
hold on. Can we praise Felicia Rashad real quick? Now that's a woman I would put my dick in right now.
He said right now.
Right
She's
now,
like
still.
she's
Bro, that's
75.
But she still looks like
I haven't seen her in years.
Miss Huxtable.
Really?
Miss
I
Huxtable.
liked her on the show.
So
Oh,
is
man.
he married?
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
he's
wife
got,
stood
like,
by
5
him when
kids.
the accusations first happened, but now I think she's like,
Give me that
yeah,
divorce, nigga.
we don't ever think about how like
it affects her.
the kids and shit.
Hey, bro, he been doing this for so long though. The wife knew something.
She had to know something.
Somebody had to come and
I mean,
knock
the
on
wife
the
probably knew
door
that he
or
was
leave a
cheating.
phone call.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we don't know. I don't want to put. I don't
You're
want to
right.
speculate,
You're
but
right.
yeah, she knew he was cheating. I feel like,
Oh, I
and
believe
then
it.
yeah, I don't know. That's just complicated. It's complex for the kids and families, but. Avengers, guys. Sorry, shitty.
Speaking
fucking
of
way
Bill
to segue.
Cosby, yeah, we're just in the middle of bad transitions right now.
Yeah.
I heard it was epic. My brothers saw it and they said it was literally epic. So
Okay, we gotta check
are
that out.
seeing it
Yeah,
for
you gotta see
sure.
that
Shit,
definitely.
Tuesday?
I think something bad happened.
I think someone
Yeah,
dies.
we think someone dies at the end.
Stop.
I think someone dies, bro.
Stop.
Everybody been
I'm gonna go
saying
through
that.
the
I haven't
whole
seen it.
movie,
I haven't
like
seen
who's
it
gonna die. I'm gonna look like, oh, it's him. No, it's not.
I was
hope it's
showing
Captain America for real.
Yo, chill.
I was showing Durs this earlier, but GQ had like on their story, it was like all the men of Avengers in suits for the premiere. And it was kind of cool to see all of them like
That's
dressed
dope.
up for the.
Yeah,
They
that's
looked
dope.
good.
That's dope.
I'm gonna say
Yo.
this: fuck Captain America.
Yo,
I just had
Fuck
to
you,
do
bro.
that.
All right,
Yo.
guys. Or
Oh no! Well, before
Yeah.
we move on to the main thing we're going to discuss today, I do want to say RIP to Barbara Bush and Avicii.
Yes.
Before we forget,
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
RIP to those.
And
Pop's
Mini
wife.
Me.
Pop's wife.
Oh,
Who
Mini
Pop's
Me
wife?
died too.
Mini-Me,
Yeah, Mini Me.
Vernon, yeah, Vernon.
Yeah,
and,
Vernon Torrent.
who's that?
Mini
From
Me.
Austin
from-
Powers. The
Oh,
midget.
Yeah, he died.
sorry.
He was 49.
That's young.
Yeah, but,
But
he
he's
might.
a
I think
little
for
person.
his,
The little person.
He's a
They
little
don't.
person.
They don't live long.
No,
I don't think
bro.
so. No.
Bro,
What do you mean?
speaking of
This is
little,
news to me.
speaking
What?
of little
I didn't
people,
know
bro,
that.
this is really like.
Look at us saying little
This is
people.
super inappropriate.
Little,
politically
that's like
correct.
the
But at Sirens tomorrow, they're having
a midget fight.
midgets. Yeah, midgets. Midgets are gonna be
Strippers?
stripping. Yeah, midget strippers at Sirens.
LOL.
I'm in there.
LOL.
You know, they had midget
Yo, I'm
wrestling
going
by
little
that
ones on 'em.
bar that's
Yeah,
around
no,
here.
I
Little ones and little
remember
fives.
4 or 5 years ago, we went to go see midget wrestling.
I missed it. I wasn't there.
Oh, that
Oh my
was
God.
incredible,
Xander was
bro. Ooh, that was funny.
I do want to talk, like with Avicii though, I do want to talk about because he was so young. He was 28.
I didn't know nothing about the dude. Like I
You've
know
heard
he's a
his
You've
music-
heard his
Please
music.
don't wake me up.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
No,
him?
that's
Fuck,
Chris
never
Brown.
mind.
There's
I said the same shit.
no, there's that. I'll play it for you after. But it's Wake Me Up.
He was there.
There's Don't Wake Me Up, which is Chris Brown,
Look
and
at
there's
his face.
Wake Me
He
Up,
was still like,
which is
his hand is
Avicii.
like,
I know, but she was wearing glasses. So
oh
you
shit, wake me.
Yeah, but no, he was
Oh,
28,
man.
and actually, they haven't released anything. But his family did finally release a statement, which kind of insinuates that it was suicide. But yeah, I mean, we figured it would be drugs, but
Suicide?
I'm
they
so like
figured-
Illuminati and all that. I be thinking like none of that shit is real.
But can you think about
somebody
Off
killed
20?
that
himself?
nigga. No, somebody off that.
Why is he?
I mean,
What's he
I'm
got to
pretty
do with the Illuminati?
When they rich like that, bro, you ain't. I mean,
Yeah,
But you have to
Avicii-
understand,
Avicii
he
wasn't
was like
always popular, like, it's crazy.
28. Look at his influence around the world. I mean,
was crazy.
I mean, everybody was tweeting. Like Calvin Harris said something. Tiesto. There were so many just
Who's
like
Tiesto?
they're like EDM artists.
Yeah, they're like DJs.
Yes, this is a
DJs.
world I'm not
These are
too
main
familiar.
DJs.
But they were
I know who Calvin
tweeting
Harris
about.
is. That album, fire.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
His
he
last
was
album
talking
was
about how he was inspired by. I mean, a lot of the people that are inspired by him are much older, which is crazy.
Yeah.
because he was literally 28.
28 too young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too young.
It's
so
RP.
sad.
RP.
Aren't you 28 right now? nigga?
Peterson. Yeah, yeah. I'm about to be 28.
Oh,
Peterson
yeah.
was talking about suicide. It was fucking good.
I actually want to hear his take on suicide
It's fucking
because his
good.
takes on shit is just like, oh god.
Seems
Okay,
like common
that
sense
makes
for a lot of
It
these
makes
things.
sense.
too.
It
breaks
makes sense.
down. Well,
But he
we're
like
not
switches.
gonna
All right,
know
go
that.
ahead.
Yeah.
Our main topic today, guys, is I know those probably seem like our main topics. Our main topics today is
You
the
gotta-
educational
you fucked up, bro.
system.
You're supposed to say, yo, speaking of Avengers.
Speaking of Avengers, yeah, our main topic today, guys, is the educational system in America specifically. We're not going all around the world with it, but you know, we got a couple topics that we want to expound on, break down, and get our feelings out the way. And we got our special guest. This is where she really comes in handy. She is a teacher. We're not
The
going to say what
teacher.
school. She is the
you
teacher. Yeah,
Put some respect on
the
it.
big homie Cassie. Oh,
I'm
oh,
here.
not hear myself.
Big homie Cass, he was popping.
Hi,
Yeah.
hi.
Yeah.
I'm here.
All right, so
I'm ready
let's,
to educate you all on
So
education.
the teacher strike. So I've heard a little bit about this. I didn't know you informed me Arizona is having
Also, Colorado at the same time as
okay.
Arizona.
Good. I'm glad. So I heard about West Virginia kicked it off, right?
Correct.
And then Oklahoma followed suit. The wages these teachers were making in Oklahoma was ridiculously low. Like I saw something where this woman she was Ubering on the side while she was teaching. There was another teacher who was like, I think she started like a mini decorating company or not
Really?
company, but like had to like they had to
Oh
take,
no, I did see that. I did see
yeah,
that. I did
it's
see
wild. Like
that. It's like a couple of them together.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what so I wanted to get your take on like the strikes in general and what's it like being a teacher today.
And have you ever thought about a strike? And wait a minute, what's the pros and cons of a strike?
First of all, every morning my alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m.
You
I
be
think
ready to
about I'm going on a personal strike. But no, so just some fun, I don't know if they're fun facts, they're kind of shitty facts, but obviously it's a pretty commonly known fact that teachers are one of the lowest paid professions in our country. And it also, like, your salary differs based on like where you're teaching, what type of school you're teaching for, what type of kids you're
district.
teaching, the district that you're in, yada, yada, yada. So there's a lot of factors, but even like teachers teaching, in a really predominant area that have a lot of money are still not making shit compared to other professions.
What about private school teachers still?
Private school teachers, I mean, they're making more, but they're not making enough. And by saying that, I mean, so like, okay, if you think about not all jobs, but if you work a 9 to 5 and you go to work, you work 9 to 5 and you probably get 30 minutes to an hour for lunch.
Yeah.
And then you go home, and obviously everybody takes work home with them at some point, but like, you can cut it off or you can choose or yada, yada,
Shit, you
yada.
take it home mentally too.
But when you're a teacher, like, yes, you work, people might be like, oh, well, you get off at 2:30 or you get off at 3. And it's like, I might get to leave my building at that time, but that doesn't mean that I'm done working for the day, because I also have to grade papers, make copies, do lesson plans. I go in early
That's an all-day
personally.
thing.
Yeah. And
Then why are you here day drinking with us?
because I'm actively avoiding these responsibilities.
That's what I like to hear.
No, but there's just like a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's definitely more than a 40-hour work week for a teacher. And then there's also the whole, like, you get summers off, and that's true. But one thing I'm going to say is y'all fucked up by not picking to be a teacher if you wanted your summers off, because I knew going in I was going to get the summers off. And so, damn
We
well,
all
that's
know- we
part
all
of the
know
reason I chose it. So if you wanted to have your summers off, y'all could have been a teacher too.
And,
Or a stripper.
well, I will also want to highlight the fact that you teach summer school too. sometimes,
Okay,
so,
yeah.
like,
That's the other thing. But here's the other thing. People are always like, oh, you don't have to work 3 months. I also don't get paid for 3 months if I don't do summer school. So there's like a...
So they don't
That's so real.
So can I get into that? What do they cover?
In summer school?
Yeah, like when you're off, like are you considered unemployed?
No. So most teachers opt for the option to be paid. So basically they would take my salary that I get paid for 9 months and they just stretch it over 12. So I'm getting paid less every paycheck, but it's stretched.
then
So I
you
don't
would
have to
still
go
get
3
that throughout
months.
the summer.
Right. So I don't have to go 3 months without a paycheck, but I'm not getting paid for those 3 months.
damn, that's why I don't be asking you for shots at the bar.
Cass, I got a
sucks.
job for you for 3 months if you want to switch that up.
sounded.
But that's the other thing though.
That sounded like some under
Wait,
the table shit.
no, what?
Under the
Cass,
What do you
Cass,
mean?
Cass,
No.
holla at me after the podcast.
Nah.
Well, Cassie, I don't know. One thing I want to ask you to give a little bit of background is kind of what kind of teacher you are. Because I think
Yeah.
on top of being a teacher, Cassie also teaches in a different type of environment than most people are.
A more
used to.
That
strenuous.
surprised me. When you told me about this, Cassie, I was like, damn.
All right, so I'm not going to go into all details because I don't want to put my school or my kids on blast. But
No.
I teach in a charter school, which is a school that the kids are enrolled in, not by their choice, but by the juvenile court systems.
Whoa.
So they
So
have
is that what charter mean? I never
No.
knew this.
Yeah, there's
Oh.
some charter schools that are.
charter schools are. That's what a charter school would be for. But charter
Okay.
schools are basically just smaller environments that.
Smaller
There are
school.
choice schools. So like obviously where you live is where you would go to your home district, but charter schools are optional. So if you're not going to make it in that or it just doesn't work, whatever. So anyway, my kids are teenagers from 13 to 18 and they're basically in a rough spot in their life. So they've come from some pretty shitty circumstances and they've done some pretty shitty things. And they're kind of this is serving as like a rehabilitation period for them to get back into the community and be upstanding members of society, which they currently are not.
They're also at that age too where they don't know like what to do with themselves, what to
Right.
do with others.
Their behaviors are super extreme, and they're kind of dangerous to the outside world. People would deem them to be dangerous.
Are these kids in like a suburban area?
No.
No.
They're in the inner city,
inner
but
city.
they've come from all over the place. So some of them have come from better areas, but the high percentage of them are coming from Columbus City schools,
So
which are not, known
Do
to be
most
the
charter
best.
schools, are they inner city schools?
A lot of them are, yeah,
Okay.
but not all of them. There's different takes on charter schools. You can find them anywhere, but they're
feel
just
like
serving different populations. Basically, my kids can't survive in a public school or have gotten kicked out of public school. And so, and rather than them,
we call
Not
that
going to
EO,
school.
we
Do
call
you
that
think though,
EOS.
because you and I
Yeah.
talk about this a lot, do you think that typically these people that go into charter school, because it is grooming them to go into public schools,
Mhm.
do they get mainstream too soon, do you think? Where they're forcefully put into it? Or do you think that they should be going into it too?
It just depends on the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a case by case situation. Some kids are never going to make it in a public setting, which also is scary because that means they're probably not going to make it in a lot of social settings in the community. But some of these kids, unfortunately, are the type of adult people that grow into adults that end up in prison or, those kinds of things. And it sucks to say that about their future because you never want to put that on a kid. However, the things
But you can see the
that they've
layout.
been, what they're being faced with, and then the way they're dealing with that is just indicative of where they're going to be. And the hope is that they're not going to end up that way, which is why we try to snag them in their teenage years before it's completely ruined. But
Oh, y'all trying to get them
before it goes super bad.
Cass, I got a question.
I think,
I haven't
younger the
asked
better.
you as a teacher. Thinking about the curriculum that you're teaching. Is it a joke? Like, do you realize like these kids are not going to need to know Pythagorean theorem
Yeah.
out here?
Yeah. It would be a fucking miracle to even say the word Pythagorean theorem in my classroom. I'm going to be honest with you. Most of my kids legitimately cannot add, subtract,
theorem.
multiply, and divide
Jesus.
I ain't said that since high school.
because nobody uses it. And here's the other thing about me, which maybe I might be, an outlier to the education system, but the common question, especially for middle schooler and high schoolers, is like, when the fuck am I going to need this? Why do I need to know this? When am I going to use this? And I had plenty of teachers growing up that were like, well, you really need it for, and they would come up with some bullshit excuse. I'm not that kind of teacher. They say, why do I need this? And I say, because you have to pass my class.
Boom.
Yeah.
Straight
And
up.
that's it. And they're like, so I'm not going to use it in the real world.
You're sort of like
That's
a
what
college, like
that's
a
what the
professor.
education system is, though. Like it's
Discipline
it's to,
and
no,
order.
Well, yeah, that and it's to create workers. It's not to create people who are gonna
Right.
like you're. I'm teaching you how to follow the guidelines, stay in order. To what Curtis said,
How to be
law and order.
disciplined.
But
How
that's
to be
crazy. That's why
Yeah.
it drives me crazy how underpaid you are. You're literally molding the youth of our country.
Yeah.
And
That's-
you're not getting
Actually,
That's what also pisses me off about like politicians because they'll say teachers are molding the kids of tomorrow, but like why aren't you fucking paying them then?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do we spend $600
you
billion
literally have to be like
on
a
our
college professor.
Yeah, we spend $600 billion on our military. You mean to tell me you can't slash that by like 100
But that's
million
what
and,
then-
like parlay
and I know,
that towards
and I know you want to
public
keep this
education?
in America, but like in other countries, they're funding for like schools.
What specific countries?
I don't know. I was gonna.
Well, no, I know where you're going. I just wanted to test you on it. I know what
Yeah,
countries you're
man. I
talking
thought,
about.
Yeah, like all the everyone in Asia.
Yeah.
the Asian.
Well, yeah, because they know the like all these, and they also teach them things that they're going to use as adults. Like they are coding over there now. We
Yeah,
don't have
that's
that in our
great.
high schools.
That'd
Why
be
not?
Great in our high
But that's the
schools.
thing. See, I'm not trying to. I love America, but America's fucked up too. But we can't just start. People don't see the gears, like the logistics behind stuff. You can't just say, "Hey, God," like they can't just make an announcement across America. We're stopping all this and we're starting
You can't.
this. Like that shit takes generations to
I
put
get
in
that.
place.
But if they take all right, so why is the education system trash?
Politicians.
Politicians.
No, it's
And-
literally just politicians.
Yeah, facts. Because you
I
put the
mean,
money. Hold on, you put the
money.
You put the money into teachers as much as
Think it's
as
more money.
doctors. As
Yeah.
doctors, niggas are gonna want.
Well, that's
be
a different
teachers.
thing. Well,
hold on.
that's a
Listen,
different
let me go with this. Niggas are gonna want to be teachers. I'm gonna go to school to become a teacher. I'm gonna learn a lot more. I want to be. It's going to be harder to become a teacher,
And
So
you'll
you're
get
gonna
better teachers
and
out
you'll
of
be
it.
better teachers, which are going to get better kids in education.
But you know what else I'm going to say? It takes a special type of person to teach because, so like in college, I think it was so hard to learn from a teacher because most of them aren't teachers. They're researchers that were given more money to teach and become professors. And it's so frustrating because I sit there half the time like, I'm sure you're a genius. I'm sure you know the material, but you're not teaching it to me.
I hate
And on top of that,
teachers.
they got to learn off of others.
I hated
Yeah.
I hated college teachers that it was pretty much, why aren't you guys getting this? I get it. Why aren't you guys? I'm
Because
like-
you wrote the
and I'm
damn
like,
book,
exactly.
but
I'm
you
like,
can't
my
teach
nigga,
it to
you
me.
And I don't
probably
have
made up
I don't
that
have
number.
a fucking IQ of 140.
Teach me.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They don't,
Not only
they
that,
don't
but
teach
I don't
you.
think it's
It's a skill that, you know, I mean, I would say some people are probably born with it. Like there are some people that grow up knowing that they could be a teacher. They just have that innate ability to teach
That's
people
why-
things.
Well,
Yeah.
women are teachers because
But-
they're more nurturing.
Right. But the
too.
thing is you also, you know, in your program going through college, like you take classes on how to teach. Yes, you have to be a master of your content. You need to know if you're going to be a high school English teacher, like all of that content, but 50% of your classes are how to teach, how to deal with classroom behavior, how to, you know, effectively reach certain types of students, how to do all that kind of stuff, how to break things down in so
Actually
many different
learning-
ways.
That's so
Actually-
much more
actually
than
learning-
what y'all getting paid.
Yeah, I was
though.
about to say, you guys
That's
are
so
actually
much
learning
energy.
shit that
So
helps your job. You know what I was gonna? Let me go back to the money thing. And
We can't be saying this money stuff though. Cassie ain't broke out here
No,
now.
I'm not saying money stuff.
She's got enough to pay her bills. I'm saying.
Listen,
Cassie got this bread.
No,
Let me talk
there's
about-
the
let me
difference.
talk about the funding thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And what Sumi said. I learned from teachers that want to teach. Right. That's like
Oh,
back
yeah.
to high school. If you're a
Word.
bland teacher, I'm not gonna learn. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
1 + 1. I'm gonna say 7 because
know
you are an asshole.
It ain't even about the want to teach thing. It was I like teachers who felt relatable.
People that I like the teachers that cared.
Care.
You know what I'm
like,
saying?
Like they were
even-
like they were
Because
they
there's
showed you
teachers,
that
there were
energy.
teachers that like I probably hated, not hated, I hated them because they held me accountable. But but at the end of the day, there was still a respect factor. So we had, I don't really want to say her
Shout
name
out Miss
apart.
McMasters.
Sure. All right. Well, I guess we're
Oh,
shouting
there
out
we
teachers.
go.
So Miss Seamus in high school, a lot of people hated her. I liked her because
I loved her.
she was just like,
She was
no,
real.
fuck you.
She
I'm
was
not.
real.
I care about what I'm talking
She was a
about.
college teacher in high school.
Sure.
Yeah.
She knew what she was knowledgeable on what she was talking about. People didn't like her because she held people accountable.
Yeah.
So I want to
So-
get into more of the behavior stance of how you get to a certain spot.
How you mean? What you-
Explain if you can, Cassie. Explain like your environment when you were little, and what got you like what.
made you want to be a teacher?
Yeah, but more than that, like what triggered a
What
certain
influence- what in that
stance on
environment?
why. Shut your ass up, man! I'm
But
trying
you
to get.
said- It's taking a minute. It's taking a minute, my nigga. My nigga, I was thinking you like get it out.
Yo, that shit was funny.
She gets it. She gonna get us.
Yo, real
Hit us,
shit.
Cassie. She knows what you're talking about. Go ahead, tell us.
So I see what both of y'all were talking about there. Because I spaced out for a second because it did take him a while. And then his nigga's like, yo, he's trying to cut him off. And I'm like, yeah, don't cut him off. And then this nigga's just like, yo, shut up.
I wanted, no, hold on, dead ass. I just wanted, I like the question. I wanted to hear the answer. I was like, yo, we get it. Yes, Cassie.
But, you know, it's certain questions that lead to different answers, though.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
You feel
You're right.
me?
You're
So-
right. Go ahead. Ask the question. My bad.
I'm fucked up. What made you want to become a teacher?
That shit was so
Give me
funny.
like your background and like what
Okay.
triggered or maybe you know what your environment.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was too much. Okay, well, I grew up in a public school system that was pretty typical, if you
It
ask
was
me.
dope. Nigga.
Shout out
You know,
West of Illinois.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yo, we ain't
Come
here.
out to
Actually, okay. Oh my god. Actually, Cassie, you growing up in
Jesus
Westerville school systems, I mean, it is one of the best.
Yeah, I don't know if we would say that anymore, but it was when we were attending.
Right. Because, I mean, that's important to include because not
Yeah.
many people come from
Yeah.
an educational system, like even in a public school.
Yeah, I mean, it was a public suburban, you know, there was definitely funding, there was definitely resources. We had good teachers. We had,
That's debatable.
like I said, we had good teachers. Some.
Very few.
That's up to personal opinion. No, but basically, I mean, I told my mom. So like when you're a little kid, you know, and you like to play imagination and all that kind of shit, you know, people play teacher, blah, blah, blah. And I was a control freak, number one. So I always had to be the teacher, number one. It was never up for discussion.
See, I like that.
And I wanted to be the teacher. And then that was just like the little stuff, right? But then like that carried through. And so as I got older, I mean, like, the first grade assignments when they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people are like, I want to be an astronaut or a rock star. I always said I wanted to be a teacher. And then, that went through middle school. Then I got to high school and realized that there was a whole lot of other shit in the world than being a teacher. And so I went through a phase of like 50 other things I wanted to be.
Give us one.
I wanted to be a cosmetologist. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a nurse.
I thought I wanted to be a
I think
journalist.
you do all
one
three.
time.
Keep going.
I
Keep
think you
going.
definitely do journalism.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think you'd be a nurse. Easy.
No, fuck no.
You'd be the dope asshole nurse.
ones. Like, yeah, you're good at it.
Thank you. I'm a teacher
All
still.
right, keep going.
No, so then, it ended up coming back to that. I went to school, and a lot of people, your freshman year of college, you either go in undecided or you go in with one thing. And once you start taking classes, you realize I don't want to fucking do that for the rest of my life. For me, it wasn't that way. I never changed my major the whole time I was there. And then I felt it inside me, which sounds so like corny, but
You are all way
okay,
too
you know
damn
what's
immature.
really fucked up is that response is the kind of fucking response my students would have.
Yes, you're a student.
You're her student. That sounds above like the maturity level. We don't get these jokes off. Look.
Anyways, it was
Felt
just
it
something that I
inside
knew.
She said, I felt that shit
This
inside.
is something I felt inside of me.
I felt it inside of me.
I'm gonna fucking
She
kill you
sounded,
guys.
she sounded so relaxed.
Go ahead, Cass.
I'm gonna kill you guys. I'm gonna
God,
kill
I-
you guys.
But I do this for guys too.
No, you didn't have bad teachers. They had you as a
Yeah,
student.
exactly. You're the kind of person.
That was a phenomenal
Hey,
joke.
give me applause. Get a good applause. Get that
Give her a hand clap.
Continue,
All right,
Cass.
back to it.
Anyways, so I just knew that I wanted to do that. And that it was something I felt I would be good at, something that I would want to continue doing for a long time. And I had a lot of teachers that I personally liked because I was a good kid, unlike you hooligans.
I was a great kid.
Other than Sumi. I know
hold
Sumi
on.
was a good kid. So.
Wow.
First of
Is
all-
that sexism?
first
We
of
don't
all-
need personal shots. Continue with your
come on.
story.
Did you have mentor like teacher mentors and stuff?
Yes. I don't know. I was always like the teacher's pet, and I loved most of my teachers.
You said that with a straight face. I like that.
I mean,
that she knew she was a teacher's pet?
teacher's pet.
Yeah.
We used to get mad at teachers' pets, bro.
Hell yes.
I got mad at the dudes who were like that. I didn't really care
You
when
forgot
girls
about
were.
the homework that we need. Bitch,
Oh.
what?
okay, I wasn't like that.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I would be the
no.
students who just bring
Yeah.
that teacher to Apple
Yeah.
or something every morning. It's just
Brendan
like, you
Schuler.
motherfucker.
But here's the funny thing. Here's the thing about those students, though, and I'll give you a little insight, is I fucking hate those kids. I really fucking hate those kids. Like, when they bring me shit and they're like, oh, I got you this. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck because
Yeah.
I don't like you.
You know
And-
why? You know why I had it? I was
And I know the home you come from. Don't say that.
Right. Well, the other thing is like,
you know why
yeah.
my thinking is evolved, been evolved.
Yeah.
Because back in the day in high school, I knew all the teachers hated us. They were assholes. They hated us.
Here's the
Even
thing.
if they loved us, they
We were
hated
miniature
us.
egos.
We made a Spanish teacher cry to quit.
That's wild. By the
That's
way.
sad.
I did it. I
sad.
don't want to say we. I was
Was
saying
it
back
you?
there.
Were you in that class?
Miss Castellini.
Were you in that class?
Don't shout her name
Yo,
out.
bleep that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Hey, what's the minute mark?
he said,
Bro,
okay,
don't put her
well,
name
Yeah,
in
just
to that.
delete
All right,
that
back
shit.
to Cassie. Fuck all
Damn, I
that,
forgot
man.
her name.
Awkward.
Go ahead, guys.
I had lost my train of thought now.
Yeah.
Just having to deal with the personalities of the
If
students.
you
and
guys
shit.
fucking interrupt her one more time, I will
Yeah.
bitch slap the fuck out of you
Ooh,
guys.
that's why we got bitches
Exactly.
together.
Yes. Cassie, continue.
Thanks.
I miss our boys episode.
It was funny because you guys said how much you missed me a lot on that episode. I heard the whole
Yeah, I
thing.
take it, I take it
They
back.
said that. They said that. So remember
All
that.
right, shut up,
Go ahead,
Mr.
Cassie.
PC. Go ahead.
Oh
Cassie.
wow, yo, she hit me with that. God damn.
Go
All right,
ahead.
Cassie.
I mean, it's a lot to handle that many different personalities. And here's the thing about being a teacher, especially me being young. I'm not that far removed from the high school situation.
That's
And so I know how they're wired. I know how they think. I know how they're working. I may not have the same, experiences and circumstances. I teach at an all boys school, by the way.
Oh man, I did not know that.
Yeah. So I only have male students, which
Bad
is
little boys.
so they try to.
I never knew that.
I get love letters from time to time and
what?
all kinds of shit. It's
Do you
it's
have like
something else.
on both ends of the spectrum? Do you have like a 13-year-old and an 18-year-old?
Yeah, I have both at the same time right now.
Whoa. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a lot.
Can I ask a quick question
How
about?
the fuck do you handle
Can I ask a
that?
quick question about teaching in like the social media era? Because we didn't have that growing up, like when we were in high
True.
school. So
Yeah.
I want
That's a
to
good
know what
question.
that's like.
That is a good question.
So-
Of course, it's a good question. Nigga,
Shut up,
ask it.
nigga. You ask some dumbass questions.
I
Go ahead,
can't
Cass.
stand you, Alpha. I want the world to know.
Yo, hey, Cassie loves
That's
me. It's
silly.
all good. We
That
just
is
playing.
fucking-
But I really do want to know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's really different. It's hard to combat with the social media because it consumes them. And it's also like, okay, so for me specifically in my classroom, I don't have to worry about as much because my kids are so fucked up. They're all on probation, not allowed to have cell phones.
Oh.
So that's a different.
That's
So
so
basically, you
damn.
can't have a cell phone?
Not for their certain circumstances.
Ooh, I do have a question though.
Okay.
So in this era, not the social media, like there's a lot. I'm always going to ask a tech question. So there's a lot of like kids using tablets or taking things online. How does that affect teaching?
Oh my god, it's
That's
like
a great question.
I've actually taken like multiple classes on the integration of technology in the classroom because we're not old by any means. I'm only 25 and we grew up with, technology as well, but it's only becoming more advanced. And so you have to learn a lot more about the different resources you can use and how it can help and all of that stuff. So it's kind of crazy, but there's so many distractions. So like a tablet can be really great and it can be super like useful and easy to use and yada yada yada, but it's also like they have access to 1,000 other things on the same
Tablet,
account. You know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of like 50-50.
Because I remember when we had calculators, we would still find
Right.
games
We would
and
save,
find
we would
on them.
save formulas in the calculator.
Yeah, during
So
exam
here's the thing
Taking
though,
the test.
like before it was like when you were in our classrooms in high school, like we had cell phones, but I would not say we were definitely not as reliant on them as they are now.
We didn't have
Oh,
Twitter
yeah.
though.
Right. And it was like
have
there was
social
nothing
media.
you could do but text. And it's
Yeah.
like that wasn't that distracting. So think about how like uninvested we were in class. And
Yeah.
then we didn't even have Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, the ability to Google shit.
Yeah,
All
and
of
they
that.
They don't understand what that's doing.
But it's
to them,
crazy
though.
what 10 years could do. Though.
And it's so hard to get them to be invested already just because by nature they're teenagers and they don't particularly care about one thing.
Cass, how
But
about
that's just so much more
True
distracting.
that.
Cass, what about technology that helped the classroom?
I mean, yeah, there's a ton of fucking technology that helps. Like it saves my life to have a projector and being able to connect laptops, and they have Chromebooks at our school
Ooh,
that they
what?
can
Damn.
use.
Shit, they do fund you
a
niggas.
lot of
Yeah, but let me just say that there's not enough Chromebooks for every student, so
that's
they
tough.
have to,
So
they have to share.
this is crazy to me. So my nieces, they get like their grade book, they get their grade cards through an app.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
sucks.
Yeah.
You can't hide shit no more.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
it's like parents are really in the know because any little thing can be emailed.
Well, it depends.
You
on
know
the-
what I mean?
Doesn't it
I used
depend
to
on the
change
parent,
my
though?
grades all
Because
the
like
time.
if a parent isn't technologically savvy, like if it's a younger
it
parent, then they
obviously
know.
depends on the
But if
parent,
it's like
yeah.
a 60-year-old parent who's not really into apps
yeah.
and shit,
Yeah, you
maybe
can
that
hide that
might.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're moving forward.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah,
you
that's
know
what
what
it
I
is.
mean?
Some
absolutely.
shit.
Yeah.
Cass, do you ever think about playing HQ with your kids?
They've played.
With them, like as a class together?
Yeah, we played.
Oh, there you go.
That's
why
dope.
why you say it with such a grim?
Yeah, was
one
it
of them
bad?
fun
Did
Because
it
it
work
was
out?
it was terrible and they don't know anything.
Oh, well, they're learning.
Shit, we play and we don't know.
That's what
anything.
I'm saying.
We're
That's what I'm
learning.
saying though. Like we don't know half that shit, so there's not a prayer in the
Yeah.
world that they don't know how to add 2 + 2. They don't know who the fucking prime minister of what's it called
But then,
was.
but then
they
there's,
don't know.
there's questions about like social media shit. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
they
They know.
shit.
They know. I mean, I'll be honest. I learned from them as much as they're learning.
That's a
from
good
me.
question. What do you learn from your students?
I learned so much. I learned.
Learn how to shoot, like the dance.
Oh, the shoot. Oh, I thought you said shoot.
I was
nigga.
like,
I was
whoa.
like, yo, Alpha, dog.
What?
No, they just
Is that what the kids are calling it now?
Shoot. Shoot.
they think this is how sad it is. I am 25 years old and they tell me that I am old and that I am outdated and
Of
that I don't
course.
know anything.
Well,
and I'm like, that is so
Some
scary.
of them are gonna live
That's
to see
all
25.
kids,
So
Sadly enough.
21-year-olds tell me that now.
Why you
Like,
laughing?
I'm like, bro, I'm about to be 28. They be like, damn, you about to die. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I heard this
It's right around the corner.
I also hear this from like I think we had this discussion like earlier this week how like mothers who or stay at home mothers like they stay with their kids a lot so they start having the mindset of them.
Yeah.
Is that the same for teachers?
Sometimes I leave and I'll like, I mean, you guys have said it before. Like if I say something to you, like sometimes I sound like Like, you're like, you sounded like a teacher, you know? And I'm like, so it just like, there's certain things that carry.
You got triggers.
Yeah. And like, even sometimes, like, okay, so when we do the podcast, the one thing that I always say afterwards is like, you guys are fucking talking over each other, or it's too chaotic. And it's because I deal with it every day. And it's like, it drives me fucking nuts. Obviously, it's a whole nother experience because you guys are grown. But for me, it's like when
Some of
groups
us.
are, and even like,
Whoa. First of all, this nigga looked at you. And
no, but I mean, yeah, it definitely is something that carries through like every day for me. I feel like I sometimes have like a teacher hat on. But here's the other thing I want to say, and especially when it comes to like funding and pay raises and all of that shit. Like teachers, like we're called teachers, right? Because our job is to educate students on content. But the other thing is we're like 10,000 different things. Okay. Cause we're also, counselors from time to time, especially in my specific setting. Like my kids are so emotionally disturbed by a lot of different things.
Your guardians.
And on any given day, that's the other thing. My kids also don't have a lot of parental or community support. So I serve as a family system to them sometimes. There's
That's
like
real shit.
a lot of times there might be like a coaching type situation, like a mentor, et cetera, et cetera. I also think that it's really important to note that teachers have to be actors, right? So like I have shitty days sometimes and I want to like cry because I'm so sad, or I want to like fucking cuss someone out because they're pissing me off so much. But I can't really show those emotions. Like, it's not that I walk around like a robot. My kids often say that I'm relatable and they can tell when I'm in a good mood, a bad mood, et cetera, but they don't know. They have no idea what's actually going on in my life because I don't need to put that on them, right? Like, that's not my job. So for me to stand up there, like I've had certain situations, like one of my friends passed away, right? And that was like my second year of teaching. And I had to go to work on Monday and pretend like everything was fine. You know what I mean? Because I was devastated. I was sad. I was pissed, et cetera, but I couldn't put that on them.
Yeah.
So it was like a whole, on top of the other shit I'm already dealing with, like behavior wise, getting through content, counseling them. I'm also, trying to coach myself, like just keep smiling, just pretend like everything's
That's a lot
fine.
to deal with, especially I never really thought about your outside life.
Right. Right. Because and of course, like when you were younger, you're like, teachers would be like, oh yeah, I went to the movies this weekend. And you're like, what?
Yeah, like you do
What?
this?
Or you'd see teachers out in public and it's like you see them in the fucking wild.
true.
Like, you're like,
It is like you see them in the wild.
We saw Curtis's favorite teacher at Confest. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna say
we're not
her
gonna say
name,
her name.
even though we said it earlier in the podcast. But we saw her at Confest with a beer in her hand. I looked at her, and I was 18. I was fucked up, and she knew I was fucked up. And I had a cup in my hand, and we just but it was right after high school. So I looked at her, she looked at me, she was just like,
see, that's the
gave
other
me a
thing
head
too.
nod, drank a cup. But I'm
Yeah.
like, this is fucking wild.
So that's really funny too, because like teachers are held to a whole nother standard, right? So
like when they were pregnant, I'm like, you
how
fucking?
many, right? But here's the thing, like how many grown people, take 25 for example, like I've already been teaching for 4 years, and you think that I drink often and I go out and do social activities and all of that, but like that can affect my job. Whereas like, obviously nobody should be smoking weed at work or getting drunk at work or whatever.
You gotta really be a pastor.
But you have to be like, you can't be there. Okay. So there's been multiple instances where teachers have been fired for being seen in public drinking
Why though?
because they're
Like,
supposed to be models, role
like
models.
really ridiculously
Role
fucked up,
No.
or is it just like
They're not
I
paying
actually-
you guys to be role models.
So
though.
when I was a student
they kind
teacher,
of are?
They're not paying enough.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good.
when I was
that's
a student teacher, my teacher that was mentoring me, she actually knew someone personally who had a picture on social media she went on like a cruise vacation over the summer, and there were pictures of her drinking wine at dinner with her family,
what the fuck?
and a parent of a student was upset by it and brought it to the attention of the principal, etc. It was this big ordeal, and she ended up losing her job.
Cass, that's a question.
That's
Yo,
incredible.
So how about parents? I mean, I guess, do you deal with a lot of parents in
So most of my kids are in foster care, but I
Yeah.
deal closely with the foster parents. But there are some that are in biological homes, or that even if they're in foster care, their parents are still involved.
Oh, I got another question.
But
How
do they
about- how
care?
about-
Do they care though?
Most of the time, no.
What about your teacher friends? What kind of? Do you have teacher friends?
No.
You don't have no teacher friends? We all your friends? That's it?
Yeah,
That's
I
what's
have no
up.
other friends. No, I do have other teacher friends that teach in
Yeah,
different
public
settings, though.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with them,
I want-
do,
yeah, I
you,
wanna-
do
yeah,
you
I
get
wanna
any
know
like horror parent stories from them?
Yeah. I have one friend who is in her 3rd year of teaching, I believe, maybe 2nd.
What class?
She
high schoolish.
yes,
Okay.
she teaches in high school
She
in a
thick?
suburban public area.
Is she thick? Come on, man.
Shut up.
He said, "Come
Well, answer the question
Yeah,
first.
go ahead,
Is
go
she
ahead.
thick?
She's more woman than you can handle.
That's what I like to hear.
Good.
I
Good.
like a challenge.
Get all 2 minutes.
Is that a
please.
challenge?
That's
Uh,
fine.
go ahead,
She's
go
not
ahead.
blind though, so you're out of luck.
Wow. Shots fired. Shots fired. Bang.
I'm just kidding. I love you.
Go ahead. Cass.
No, but anyway, so she teaches in like a very rich white district, if we're being honest. And she has like nightmare stories of like parents.
Helicopter
She
parents.
leaves school and has like 30 emails every day by the time she gets home from when she leaves the building to gets home. Whereas I probably could go like a whole quarter without hearing from my kids' parents, and then I call them and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot about that." I'm like, yeah. So it's totally different. But honestly, both ends of the spectrum are miserable. Like, because when you have parents that don't give a shit at all, it makes it very difficult to get the kids invested and hold them accountable and have that additional outside piece to make them care about school and other things. But then when you have helicopter parents that are like, well, my kid needs to make it to Harvard. It's like, well, it's not my fault if Johnny's fucking stupid. Like, and it's not necessarily your fault either, but honestly, it's more your fault than mine because it's your genes, not mine.
70% of, I think 50 to 70% of your intelligence comes from your parents. So yeah, it is your fault.
It is.
You should have fucked up a smarter person.
Well, that, and it's also like if Johnny doesn't care about it, you can't make him care,
Yeah.
and
Hey, for
parents' dreams aren't kids' dreams. That's the other thing
That's
that
a
gets
fact.
complicated.
Oh,
so.
yeah. So
that's so
I was
huge.
listening. I was watching Jesus and Mero, and they had this Asian dude on, comedian.
Is he smart?
He's on what's it called actually? Silicon Valley.
Oh, that
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was
Oh,
like,
he's Indian
yeah,
though.
He's
No, he's
He's
Asian.
Pakistani.
He's Asian.
The dude that lives with
This nigga
the.
Shut up, nigga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't speak on shit you don't know, nigga. When I'm telling this,
Watch the show.
but I'm telling the story.
Go ahead.
Exactly. All right. So this nigga pretty much said, you don't succeed until you disappoint your parents. Because your parents want you to grow in their eyes. They see success in their own eyes as parents, correct? So when you disappoint them and you go another way but still succeed, you win.
Oh, there's probably no better feeling. It's like, fuck you,
yeah.
mom and dad. I did what I wanted to do.
That dude is like, my dad sees me on TV, sees me on newspapers and everything, and still thinks I should have been a doctor.
That's wild.
I think it's more hurtful on the opposite end. Like,
When they
far
don't
as,
care.
No. Far as like when the parents are disappointed in you is one thing, but when you're disappointed in your parents, I feel like that's so
Oh,
much
wow.
more bigger because they
Wow.
already come with a
Oh.
standard like
Yeah.
you're my mom, you're my dad.
I
You
never
disappoint
thought
me, like damn.
That's exactly how my kids are. Like they're all disappointed in their parents
Wow.
because they suck.
And that must be hard as like a,
Well, that's
like
probably
a,
why they're reacting. the way they're-
100%.
and it's hard for like an adult figure as you, for you to teach them because they don't like adult figures already.
Oh,
They
they
don't
hate
trust them
adults.
already.
So
they
they
hate
hate
them.
authority.
So I have
Yeah.
another thing. So this was out. Like I'm going back into my high school state of mind, where I just felt like school wasn't for me because like the way I was getting taught stuff just didn't stick with me because it just
It
felt like it
wasn't
wasn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say interesting. It's just like the way that I was being taught stuff and the way I was being
It
delivered.
wasn't intriguing.
It just didn't. I guess I would say intriguing is not the right
Well,
word.
I think I know what
It
he's
didn't
talking
It
about.
didn't intrigue you.
challenge you.
it
was
it
boring.
just-
I mean, the delivery
the
doesn't reach you.
delivery.
Yeah.
It is
There's
the delivery.
certain
There you
types
go.
of,
Okay.
like the way. So maybe I think you're talking about maybe you're a visual learner.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess.
All right. So
And
yeah, you know how there's 3 different types of learners. You got the auditory, you got the kinetic, and you got the visual.
some
You
would
know what I'm
argue against
Teachers.
that. So there are people who do, but I believe what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, there's people that, but I'm definitely like a kinetic. I gotta actually do it
Yep.
to actually learn.
Yeah.
And a lot of things just like
Hands-on.
for instance,
Hands-on,
like,
yeah,
like
hands-on.
science classes or just like some math. Like I'm sitting there just like
But
that. Yeah, exactly. What? Like what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What
if
the fuck
Some
is that?
science classes be lit though.
And then, well, yeah, when you're actually doing
But
it,
you're interested in
But
it.
then when it comes down to the way you're actually like graded, like standardized testing, which is
I hate standardized testing.
You know what I'm
Cassie,
saying?
what do you think about standardized testing?
I think it's the devil. It's the devil. Here's the thing. Going off of what Driss said, actually, it's a perfect point because that has a lot to do with why teachers are striking more than just money. Money is one thing. Like obviously we are underpaid, but money isn't just like I want more in my salary. It's I need more resources. I need
True.
smaller class sizes. That's one thing that they were definitely striking for in Arizona because they have class sizes of like 30 to 35
That's too many people.
with one teacher. And here's the thing.
Fuck, I couldn't
Here's the
imagine
thing. Teachers will
Is that
sit
high
through.
school?
Yeah. Or no, elementary schools. Actually.
That's a lot for an
That's a
elementary
college
school.
lecture hall. Like
Yeah.
that's
Here's the thing, though.
my God.
Teachers will sit through professional developments about all of these different learning styles and how we need to be catering to all of these different learning styles and thinking abilities and all of this, right? So like I have to be able to take one lesson and put it into someone that's a visual learner, someone that's an auditory learner, and someone that's like, you know what I mean? So I have to do that, but I have to do that for 33 different people in 3 different ways.
Couldn't do it.
Right. And like,
couldn't do it.
who has the resources for that or the time or the mental stability to do that? And that's just one lesson. Right. The other thing is like, I teach all 5 core subjects,
Oh, goddamn.
to my students. And
Wait a minute,
so,
what?
yeah,
You teach math, science,
social
history?
studies,
How the
English,
fuck
and
do you
creative
do
writing.
that?
Yo, Cass, would it be crazy if to say
How
that
the fuck do you do
school
that?
is for teachers?
Wait,
Pretty much.
wait.
Because you're going to be recycling
wanna
the
get
same
off of that.
shit.
I don't want to get off of that. How do you they
Okay.
require you to know
Yeah.
how to teach math, science.
So here's the thing
you're-
about charter schools, right? So like they're funded, but they're not overly funded by any means. So to have 4 or 5 different teachers in that environment costs too much.
so
I have the job of 5 teachers.
Wait. So a
On
group
one
of your
salary.
kids just don't be like, oh man, we about to go to history class. Oh man, we about to go to math class. Oh, or it's just, oh, we're going to Miss Cassie's
So
class.
think elementary
Yeah.
What the
school.
fuck?
Elementary
That's
school.
Elementary
impossible.
school for high school kids.
Yeah, elementary
Yeah.
school.
That's
yeah.
impossible, bro.
Yeah. But that's the thing is there's not enough funding for there to be other people.
Bro, that's impossible. I've seen so many layouts for like just a history teacher and how much they like get their whole day together. A math teacher, how they get their. If you got to do all 5 of those,
But here's the thing, and I'm not like
Damn, now I know why you don't go out with us in that anymore.
that'd be
My niggas doing lesson
insane,
plans.
bro.
that, but it's also like
She don't like you.
You guys are kind of sort of fucking funny. You guys are kind of sort of fucking funny.
no, but it's not even just the content itself because I'm going to be honest, like, yeah, I'm teaching 5 subjects, but if you were to sit in my classroom and think about how much content we get through
I've
in a
been
day,
trying to sit in
Can I sit
one-
in?
it's
Yeah.
not hell.
We're
no.
not allowed.
Why?
No,
we're not allowed.
No, I'm saying
When we rile up the kids, is
Disrespect-
that
like,
what it is?
respect-
Oh my god!
Okay.
First of all, number 1, my school would never let you come in because my kids are already
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
just confidentiality would be not good. But
First
second
off,
of all,
I'm not
I would
letting-
personally never let you come in
Yeah.
because I
It's
would
you.
listen. I have kids that act like you
Oh,
that
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
that's what
cuss
they
out,
do.
but you,
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
to really rip you apart.
I have a question for you.
I'm just sitting and observe.
Nah, dude,
it would still piss me off.
Curtis would be like, yo, they ask like, yo, I like your shoes. Oh, how you know Cassie?
They
you
would
fuck
sense the
Cassie?
Westerville off you,
No,
bro.
you guys, I'm not kidding.
I'll stop at 15.
You told us.
bro.
You told us.
They're very invested in my personal life for no fucking
yeah.
reason. Like I have a picture of all of us from New Year's Eve as my background.
Hey, there
And
you go.
she
does like us.
Aw. Where's
Which
that?
boyfriend is yours?
Exactly. Every day. And they change the theory every day. They decide like, oh, this day it's got to be this guy because he's the closest to you. And this
Is it
day
because
it's this
Bashir,
one.
'cause he has a big dick?
And they said, they actually
Immaturity
said,
thinking.
they said that Bashir was my boyfriend at one point because he has the biggest smile and I'm always laughing. And I said, no.
Listen,
then they said it was
listen,
alpha.
ladies.
How old are they?
at
How old are
me.
these kids? The 13 to
13
15?
to 17.
That's something a 7-year-old would
damn
ask.
it.
What kind of?
But they want to know. I mean, they just.
That's
I don't
actually
know.
a sweet one. Oh,
They
he
don't know.
smiles so much. He has to
Right.
make you smile.
Wait, I have a question for you though.
Ooh.
How is it like? Do you do a lot of like interactive learning, or is it very much just like this is the lesson plan, this is what we're doing, these are the worksheets?
I always have this plan in mind, right? Like you make a lesson plan with the intention of like this is how the day is going to go. This is how we're going to deliver the information. They're going to get it. We're going to turn in that paper and we're going to be done. That never fucking happens. That doesn't happen in any classroom, but in my classroom specifically, like I might walk in. Here's the thing: my kids are so bad. I have no other word to put it. They're just bad.
You spend probably 2 hours just keeping their ass like sit down,
100%.
do this,
100%.
do this.
And here's the
Wow.
other thing. If I know my kids, like they'll come in and like so and so and so and so almost got into a fight outside and I have partner work that day and those two were working together.
Oh wow!
That just switches
So
everything
you have to
up.
switch up the entire.
So now, and then it's
lesson
like,
plan?
the,
Hold
yeah.
on,
do that.
guys. You know all
Yeah.
the high school beef.
Oh hell yeah, I know all the drama, and
what's
I am
going down?
definitely running around like, you said what?
Oh, what?
And they're like, and I know all the drama. Like they think I'm the cool one, quote unquote, of all the staff, so they'll come to me and they'll be like,
See,
oh my
so that's like all
god.
the black girls
but
who
that-
thought Mr. James was real cool.
Right.
Fuck that
Oh,
guy.
Mr.
That
James,
sucks.
fuck
That
that
sucks
nigga.
to me because you can't. It's like you cannot have that in your outside life. Say if you were trying to date somebody
Yeah.
new, like that, their world and each individual worlds of their, like when they going, oh, this person's about to fight. You're still thinking about them even when you're trying to build a social life.
Oh, 100%. Here's the thing. My first year of teaching
I couldn't
there,
do it.
I would cry when I came home like every day because I was so emotionally drained myself from dealing with them, but also just carrying all of their baggage because that's what I consider it. Like once I know their story and what they're going through and all this, like I take their baggage home with me.
That's
Because I can't just leave it
feel
at the
like-
door.
I feel like that's what kind of makes you a good teacher, though, is that you actually care.
Right.
Yeah. What's it like
I'm
dating
sorry,
a teacher?
I wouldn't
though?
care.
Cassie, what's it like
That's
dating
why
a
you're not
teacher?
teaching,
give
nigga.
a fuck.
That's what-
What'd you say, Bashir?
I was like,
Go ahead,
what's it like dating a teacher?
What?
You
What's it
dated
like
a teacher?
dating a teacher?
I've never
like
dated
someone
one.
dating you.
Oh. I don't know.
Well, yeah. How
Guys,
would
She
you know
probably-
that?
she
probably be
How
a
would she know
planner.
that?
Listen, shout out,
No,
guys.
we had really good questions.
Girls know
before.
this. What do you mean? Girls definitely know this.
I know what he's trying to say though. Like
Yeah.
maybe not even specifically me. Like honestly, it would take.
How hectic is it?
It
Like,
would take
Okay.
someone
All
that
right.
cares enough about them caring about their profession. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, because you are going to bring work home every day, even if it's not on the computer or
Papers.
papers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to bring home.
You bring home their
work.
lives.
like that one movie with
and I'm
Jennifer
going to
Garner.
care.
Oh,
It's
oh.
not Jennifer Garner. It's
Freedom
Hilary
Writers,
Swank.
Hillary Swank.
Hilary
Nigga, you
Swank,
are
damn.
completely
Yeah,
on
you
My
off,
bad.
bro.
The white women.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
No.
like, they all look alike.
Here's a fun fact, actually. That book that the movie is based on, we read it in class 2 years ago, and my kids fucking loved it.
I read it in
Wow.
class too.
Really?
And then we watched the movie, and I cried like a baby, and they were like, "You're soft."
Hey, do they still do the damn? Remember they had audiobooks back in the day. They would put it on like that big cassette. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Tape. It was literally a
that's,
tape.
that kind of parlays into something. Would you, if you're like reading a book in class and stuff like that, and kids, and they have to take home read, would you be mad if they like listen to it on?
No.
Okay.
My kids are also all on IEPs, which is an individualized education plan, where it means they have like specific needs for them individually. Like they have goals they need to meet in various subjects and different things that work for them and don't work for them, which is also
So do you have to monitor that?
yeah,
Oh no.
and write the reports to
Jesus.
make those
I
documents.
do have a
can't
question
do
IEP
that.
though, because
You need a
do you
50
like IEPs? Do you think they're really
$50,000
beneficial
bonus.
when they're
What is IEP?
An individualized education.
A lot
plan.
of students have them. It's just a certain way. For
Yeah,
them
so
to learn.
basically,
Like,
I like them because it protects them
That's
from a lot of
crazy.
things. So here's the other fucked up part. Standardized testing is trash, as I've previously stated. And the other thing is the fact that they can't figure out what they want to do with standardized testing is even more trash. So like when we were in high school, we took the OGT and, you know, people struggled with the OGT. Some people passed it with flying colors and said it was fucking easy as hell. It just depended on the person.
Yeah, I thought that shit was easy.
I did too, but some people
Yeah, I passed that
didn't.
shit on first try.
yeah.
See, but that's what I'm
though.
saying. Like universally, it was getting good reviews, right, from
Mm-hmm.
students and teachers and etc. There was also a lot of like materials teachers could use to help cater to the OGT. So like this is the information that's going to be on the test. This is how the questions are going to be asked. Well, then they went and switched it up. So now OGTs are no longer a thing. They don't
What about
exist.
ACTs?
ACTs.
OGTs?
yeah, that-
hold on.
Here's
There's
the
no
other thing.
OGTs?
No. So what they have is end of course exams now. And so what they do is like for every
Like finals?
class you take in high school, they have a standardized test for that subject. So like if you're taking
At the end
algebra
of the
1,
year?
if you're taking algebra 1 at the end of the year, you take an algebra 1 test and you can get a score from 1 to 5. Now, by the time
1
you
to 5.
graduate, you have to have 18 points collectively to graduate.
It's like a game.
Here's the thing. That doesn't sound that bad, but there are some things that they're not testing right now. So like certain subjects or certain years of certain subjects aren't getting tested. And then the other thing is they're hard. They're literally so hard.
Okay.
They're so hard. So, and here's the other thing. So they're new. There are no study materials. There is no previous test questions that are released. There is no study guide to reference.
Oh.
So there's
Damn.
no way to
So
literally
this is the
be.
first year
to
that
teach
is
them.
To teach
implemented.
it.
This is the third year they've run the test, but this is the first year that they've started collecting the scores.
So you're,
You
know
you're
what?
by you specifically are more like specialized in English though.
yes.
So like you would even say that the English.
So here's the other thing. So some students that are on IEPs, they get the test. One of the accommodations they can have if they need it is to have the test read aloud to them because they might not be able to get done in the time frame or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's also a fucking bitch to sit in a room with a kid and read that whole test. And that includes math and science. So if there's a graph, you have to read the whole graph.
Couldn't do that, bro.
Yeah, you need y'all need
I'm
like a
tired of hearing you
$50,000.
talk about that shit.
But here's
that
the thing.
sucks.
The saddest part for me was I had a student that was 15, but was functioning probably maybe 9 or 10.
Oh, wow.
And so he's taking the Algebra 1 test because
He has to.
he's age-wise
Yeah, he
in
has
that
to.
grade.
I mean, but that's not really too big of a. I mean, I ain't gonna say it's not big of a deal. That's kind of normal, especially in that. Like, bro, that's the reason why I kick myself in my ass now. That's why I read so much now. Because, bro, when I was like 17, 18, I had the reading grade level of like a fifth grader, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I
that's
couldn't
really
read that
common.
good.
That's common.
I
But here's the
couldn't.
thing. The sad part is like he's required to get those 18 points.
That's crazy.
And he's
not
never
at that
going to
level.
get 18 points. You know what I
He's not
mean?
at that level.
And just the sadness of that whole thing. Like, I pretty much told my principal, I was like, I will never do that again. You're going to have to find someone else to read the test because looking at his face as I'm reading him, it's basically Chinese to him.
Like you knew the answers,
And
you knew it
he's
was
just
wrong?
like, I don't, okay.
When you were reading it to him, did you know the answers and you knew he was saying like he was
Some of them, and some of them I didn't know.
At
Like
all?
even on the English test, there were
Yeah.
questions that I was like, "What the fuck are
What
they
specific
asking?"
question do you remember?
I have no idea, but there would be like, because they'll give you like a text passage, and of course they want you to go back and look for shit and whatever. And like most of it is like okay, but some of the questions, and it's not even just what they're asking; it's the way they ask it. Whereas like, so when we
That's-
took the OGTs, I remember it being like very clear that there was like 2 questions that were absolutely not the answer, right?
Mhm.
And then there were 2 that you were like, okay, it's either this one or this one. You decide. So basically. Even though technically you had a 25% shot on a multiple choice, you really had 50% unless you were actually like totally unaware.
Yeah.
But on this test, all 4 answers, I was like, I mean, I feel
So-
like I could argue that all 4 of them could be a possibility. Like it was that kind of fucked
When-
up. Like, I don't know.
Damn.
when you would read the question because you said it's like how you read it sometimes.
Mhm.
So say obviously the kid's not reading it, you're reading it to him. Would you change your like what's that called when your voice goes up?
Cadence?
The
Cadence?
end.
Yeah.
No, because you're not allowed.
So you
gotta
be
read
how,
the standard.
how would you read? All right, read just
Like a
read
robot.
that.
I mean,
real
would
quick.
you
read that
not
shit like a
your
robot,
cadence? Would you switch up the vocabulary at all?
No, you can't switch up the vocabulary. You
Not
have to
the-
read it.
I mean,
straight
I'm
up.
saying like. the
I literally
verbiage, would
read
you,
it.
like,
I just read it.
you can't change it.
Verbatim.
You
Oh,
can't
you're
change
not-
it.
you're not allowed to-
If you're taking a test,
No.
you got to read
But
what's on
I'm
that
saying-
test.
I'm saying,
Man,
like,
that sucks. I
which
I would try to
was-
do it to help the kid out if I see him struggling. Like if it's a word that I know they don't know,
Right,
I
and
might-
that's my teacher instinct, like as a nurturer and a helper. That's what I want
totally
to do.
not allowed to do it though.
Not allowed. Literally could lose my job.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I hate about standardized testing is that it's so like
Stringent.
it's political. It's literally just political. And here's the other thing.
Well, what's political specifically about it?
I mean, the whole reason that they do it is to show statistics
to see what teachers
what
good
we're
and-
doing.
Okay, to see what teachers.
And
good
here's the
what
other
isn't.
thing.
Okay.
So if I was being, luckily for me in my circumstance, it doesn't apply, but like some teachers, the scores that their students get on standardized tests is reflective of their teaching, right? That's what is assumed. However,
oh, man. See,
and
fuck
so
that,
some
bro.
some teachers would take a pay cut or lose their job if students weren't performing at a certain level.
Curtis, you say fuck
But
that?
my kids are like
Oh, fuck that. I wouldn't do it.
never going to, like my group of students, just based on everything that surrounds them,
You'd
would
be fired.
never score that way, regardless if I was like the most impeccable teacher in the world or the shittiest. And so like I could probably lose, like if they looked at my scores,
You'd lose your job.
they would be like, what the fuck is she doing? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's like,
That sucks.
for me, it's not really about the content for them. Like, yes, they're getting their education because if not, they'd be wilting away in a jail cell somewhere. But
So many gears.
it's life skills. It's
It's too
learning
many
how to be a
gears.
member
So,
of society.
Are you looking to go to public schools eventually?
So,
Yo, she was like,
You hit a spot, dog. You hit a spot real
no,
quick.
this is a question that is like, I think about it all the time because when I graduated with my degree, I wanted to teach in a public school. That was my thought process. Like I would teach in a school like I attended. And when I was student teaching, I was student teaching in public schools. Then again, that was a whole nother ballgame because we were down in the bums of Southern Ohio and it was a whole nother. I've literally
even like
seen
hearing
it
that
all in 5 years. I've seen it all. Anyway, let's just say they got the first day of hunting season off school and I was fucking mind blown.
What the fuck? That's
They
crazy.
got the first day of a hunting season
Yeah.
off.
Yes. That was like
So
a
real.
day off on the school calendar.
Damn, that's some hill.
Damn.
and
I
the,
was
and the
say,
Apple
that's fire.
Festival. Anyway, that's a whole nother.
Apple Festival.
That's some outdoorsy shit.
But so my dream at that time was to teach in a public school, and then obviously finding a teaching position is not easy. Here's the other thing for teachers: you have a very small window to find a job, right? So like if you guys are looking for, or anybody that's not in the teaching profession is looking for a job in the middle of November because that's when they need a job, right? Like there's a lot of different opportunities. But for a teacher, there is no teaching job available in the middle of November. Like the school year has already started. So you can only get a job
Between
during the summer months.
You know what's funny? It's kind of like low-key. It's kind of like sports.
Yeah. I mean, you
It's
have a
like-
small window to like figure it out.
So you got to do like the whole like.
So if you don't
tryouts
have a
shit.
job by July, you're not teaching for that year. Unless you're substituting, which is a whole nother thing. Or if there happens to be some freak accident, like
I was gonna say, like, someone
Like
get fired.
right.
Yeah,
like
or
a
a Spanish teacher
loses.
crying and quitting.
that,
Dicks.
that's
Yeah.
true.
me
But public school, now, after the 5 years that I'll spend in this setting, absolutely not. Because
Damn.
I don't think that I could. First of all, we just have a different set of rules and regulations. So, based on the type of program that they're in and the type of kids I'm working with, there are certain exceptions to the rules that, like, I have more flexibility in how I conduct my lessons or the types of things I'm allowed to cover, the way in which I can do things. Whereas in public school, they do not, just based off of a lot of different factors. And also, I don't know that I would connect with students in a public school
Why do you say that?
because I care so much about my kids. But I care about them. I don't want to say I care about them because they have issues, but I'm so invested in them because they are
It's a challenge.
so troubled, right?
Do you look at it as a challenge?
it is
or
a challenge. Every day is
but
a
I'm
challenge.
like, do you like it because it's a challenge?
I think so. I think that's part of it, but I also just think like I'm not saying that all teenagers don't have issues because the sad thing is these kids are coming from public schools, so they're out there.
Yeah.
They just haven't been discovered yet, or they may go unnoticed. So they're in public schools, but I just think if I were to sit in a suburban public school classroom and Tiffany, who's 16 and has never had anything
Any problematic.
right, like yes, she's a teenager and I'm sure nothing has been perfect in her life, but in comparison to what I've experienced through my kids, I just think I would be like,
I think
I don't really give
I think
a
that's
fuck.
kind of the reason why I have more empathy for people like abroad than I do people here, because it's like, all right, you're complaining about life here, but
Mhm.
it could be exponentially worse
Yeah.
if you grew up in another country.
That's the thing is I just feel like I would be comparing all the time, and that's not really fair for me, but it's also I just know myself. If I've invested this many years with this population of students,
Yeah.
and then I'm faced with a complete opposite, that would be challenging. I won't say never. I'll take it back. I won't say never, but it's not something I'm looking for soon.
So one of our
Okay.
a point we I don't know if you were. Go ahead, Joyce. What were you
I
gonna
was
say?
gonna say like, what about like the inner city schools? Because you were talking about suburban, and I feel like the problems that occur in like inner city schools are kind of similar to what you're seeing now. Like, there's a lot
Absolutely.
of kids like that.
I think I would never go to an inner city school only because the support is even worse than what I have. So community based, parent based, administration based. The reason those schools are struggling so much is because they don't have help and they need help.
And
So
parent-
if you have a
oh,
classroom in inner city Columbus, for example, that has 30 students that are all on IEPs, that all have behavior issues, that are all dealing with outside circumstances, that they don't give a fuck about being in school. For them, it's a safe place
yeah, it's
to
just it's
socialize,
a way to escape real life.
which both of those things are still very important in any school. Like I would argue that school is not just a place for content learning. It's definitely about socializing and learning how to be a part of society and a community and all that. But if they're not being able to be safe in that environment because there's not enough support for them, then I just don't really think, I don't.
threw you off.
It will never succeed. It will never
Yeah,
succeed.
me and Driss, I mean,
It will always be bad.
not to strain off too much. Me and Driss had this conversation. I mean, I want everybody to. I appreciate. I love Cassie's input on all of this. She's fire at it, and she speaks well, way more than anybody at this fucking.
He said
table.
way more.
Wow.
Way more than anybody at this fucking
Speaks
table.
well, way more.
Way
He
more.
fucked it up.
I just cut it off.
Way
I
more
said
than.
cut off. Way more. Yeah. But that's what me and Driss was just saying earlier. Like most schools, they don't like, especially now. they don't care about extracurriculars like arts and stuff like that. They don't support any type of creativity in schools. Like, I mean, that ties in also with the standardized testing and stuff, but it's like, why don't they show any love towards
I'm sorry. Go.
I mean, I know they're creating work. No, it's all of us.
Oh, well, there's no funding. They have to get rid of art programs and extracurricular activities because there's no funding.
To pay teachers.
So it goes
get
back to the
supplies.
top when I always say, this is why I don't like Republicans or Democrats, because they all have like they have an agenda. It's to spread American imperialism. And how do you do that? You fund the military.
Yep.
And if you just defunded the military by $100 billion, we'd still have the biggest army on the planet. And you could allocate that $100 billion towards public education or to roads or to a bunch of other things. But they don't want to do that.
I feel like that it's more than that though. Like I feel, because when you dealing with schools, you're dealing with people. So even if that money is shelled out, you got to fix the areas around the school, not just the school.
Oh, absolutely. But that money goes towards public housing. How about that?
Yeah.
Goes towards
but is $100 billion really? I mean, of course it'll do something. It'll do a dent.
I'm just saying a start. Well, if you cut it by $300 billion, then we'd still we'd be tied for the largest military.
True.
And like the thing is we get off on being the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right, we mask it and say that, oh, well, it's about spreading democracy and helping these countries out.
I think it's because we know we're the young, stupid ones on the block, and we don't. Like Asia and all that, they've been around for thousands of years.
True.
We're babies,
Which is
so
why
it's like all we got is our muscle. Like they're way smarter than
you're
us.
Saying we're the little,
they got more shit.
We're the youngest child. Trying to like
no, what we are. Is
they old Nick. They 80 like when you argue with an 80-year-old, like he might have way more a decent 80-year-old.
But nigga,
he got way more. Yeah, you can knock his ass out.
Just keep talking to me like
but it's
that.
like he's smarter. He got more. He's more educated.
What's that? Yeah, what's that 80-year-old got? Intelligence.
But guess what? Every major Asian cultures, Chinese cultures, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's always been empires, and they all fall.
Yeah.
Fact.
So you got to be.
But they had more
fall.
time to go through that.
I'll say this, but
so when are we gonna fall?
I don't know. I don't want to turn it into politics. Only reason I bring up the military and how much we spend on it is because you could literally allocate that towards public education. And you know what? Like if you are talking about making America great again, you know what would make America really great is if you actually cared about the people here domestically.
If you cared about America.
Well, also like when you think about it, you like colleges and stuff want well-rounded students. So when you're taking away, well, first of all, okay, the obesity issue, you're going to take away gym class really when they're sitting on their asses all day.
Yeah, that's
you're going to take away arts, which is what they're
gym class anymore.
They've taken away some gym class.
You take away all the creativity.
They took away gym class.
It's an art.
It's an art.
What? Question though. So how do they take away gym class when they have a fucking gym in the high school? Like,
that doesn't make any sense. Because the football team that they're bringing money into the school.
Yeah, well, and that's why a lot of
gym for niggas.
Well, that's why a lot of coaches they're not hiring like a gym teacher. It's just a football coach that is the gym teacher.
Well,
like they're asking them to do like your math
money.
teacher
The
is
actual
probably
auditorium. What are you doing with that?
I mean, that's where they have basketball team still.
That's
They
always
might
where the
still have a
court's
basketball
at.
team because it's boosters. Those are boosters that are bringing.
But that's
in
only
money.
happening Friday. So that bitch is empty.
Like think of Western North.
Most
gym.
I mean,
week.
look at if you look at
assemblies.
if you look at like suburban, if you look at suburban high school gyms and how nice those gyms are, and you look at the inner city gyms, they're atrocious. Yeah. That goes back to funding again. Yeah. You have
everything
to fucking,
is money.
It is. That's
everything
why
is fucking money.
We could talk about it's the culture. It's some of the it's fucking. It's
money.
all money.
It's all money.
And you're
take this money from over
what
here.
What do our taxpayer dollars go towards?
Yeah,
it's towards bullshit.
That's
well, here's the other thing that I would say too is not only that, but there are some like inner city schools that have some of the nicest buildings.
Yeah.
So like West High School in downtown Columbus
it's pretty.
It is a beautiful
it's so
school.
Pretty.
It is
I just saw the
massive.
other day actually.
It's massive and it has an interior that could be. It's pristine. It's beautiful. But here's the thing: that's where the funding stops. So now they have this beautiful building full of
stupid ass niggas
full of children that need help, but not funding the resources to get them the help. So they're begging teachers basically to take those positions,
and
they quit.
And that goes
they
back
can't
to
handle it.
It goes back to what you were saying about it's not just paying the teachers more; they need money for supplies.
But it's even like the facility itself. Like it has to be. We didn't have AC in high school. I went to a high school with no AC.
Whoa.
That's wild.
But we were not
country.
allowed
What
to
the
wear.
fuck?
We were not allowed to wear sleeveless shirts.
Don't
to
even
school.
get me started on dress
But
code.
we didn't.
Wait, what school?
I'm
In
from
Cincy?
Cincy. Yeah, it was Anderson. So I mean,
I
here's the
was in
thing.
high school. Step your shit up.
Yo, come
one
on.
thing-
That was a high school doing that?
Yeah, it's one thing. Like, okay, I understand the reasoning to not, but we didn't have air conditioning. Like, don't talk to me about dress code for the other reasons. We legitimately didn't have air conditioning. So I would come to school and I would be sweating my ass
All
off.
day.
You know what's funny is like I never really
Like,
I would be
I didn't
so
get a
pissed.
I
fucking
was so
full on
mad.
boner seeing a girl with a like small fucking
With
strap.
Straps?
I didn't
Spaghetti
really do it. I
straps?
was
Is
like,
that what
oh
they
my
call
god,
it?
I can see your shoulder.
Is that what they call it?
Oh my
No,
god,
it
I was
wasn't
like,
that.
oh my
It
god,
wasn't
his
the
shoulder.
actual strap.
Spaghetti
It was
straps?
just like, you know,
It showed-
them
it was the
them
cleavage.
camis
But
would
I
be
could, hey,
low.
let me tell you something, bro. I could still. I was a teenage kid with an imagination. I could just look at a girl's chest and
Yeah,
be like, I
with
wonder
the
what
white
that-
t-shirt.
and just like if I was attracted. to
That
her.
was like news of
Doesn't
the
matter.
day. If a girl had, if one girl in the high school had hard nipples for the day, that was news.
I was like,
that
yo,
shit
yo,
spread
check out-
like
yo, yo,
wildfire, bro.
Jennifer out there. Yo, Jennifer out there on second. Yo, second period. You're gonna see her. I'll show you. The nipples crazy hard. Pepperoni joints.
Here's the thing, like
Oh shit.
Yo, here's the thing. I understand. I get that. Like, people want to, like, the administration probably wants to protect the kid. Like, oh, you can't see that. They're human beings. Like, we're human beings. Like, yes, girls have boobs. You're not.
Right.
I don't know what the hell. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're gonna see cleavage.
Exactly.
I said cleavage.
Cleveland.
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's these people
Cleveland
that
and
are
Cleveland.
they're telling these kids not to do that, but then again, turn around. You're talking about hypocrisy.
Yeah.
They're turning it around. I know it took me a second. Was that a soundboard? shit? Who said whoa?
That wasn't it.
No, that was
No,
just
anyway.
Cassie saying you're
Oh,
an idiot.
well, hypocrisy. Those niggas are turning around, watching porn like, yo, I want to see this girl's titties. I'm like, yo, kids are horny.
That's
I'm
just
gonna
how
say
they
that, and
are,
I
bro.
get it.
Like,
I get it. Don't let a girl come to school fucking half naked.
Sure,
But
spaghetti straps.
half
though, like-
naked isn't a t-shirt
You know,
and short shorts.
you know what
Not
though?
No,
short
but that
You know what?
entice them. I couldn't think. I understand why they do it.
I'm kind of scared
I
to see
get
what's
it.
going
I
on in these
couldn't
high schools
think,
now,
bro.
though.
Oh.
I'm really scared to see what's going on in
It's
these high
worse
schools.
These high
now.
schools now.
Bro, I swear to God, because you know the whole social media era is going on. They got the
Contouring. These little
contouring.
girls
These
gotta know
girls
how
are
to
yeah,
contour.
they're going out
They
looking
coming-
like Friday night.
You said it like a dad. They
He's
going
like,
out
oh.
looking like Friday night.
Every day.
That's true.
Can we talk? I do want to talk about the education's preparing kids for
They're not.
the real world. Is it? So it's
No.
not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro, I got a
That
conspiracy.
alone.
That's it for that conversation.
Well, no, I
It's
was
not.
going to say something because I wanted
wanted to
to.
hit that.
I wanted to
no,
add
good,
something
though.
to that because I know you have a lot. So, like, my parents, well, my dad did his schooling here, but my mom did it in India, and she was like, "What's so crazy is like we have home economics, and that was such an important class to understand, like, basically running a household. You know what I mean? Like, understanding income, understanding like." Personal finance, all that stuff. Those were actually considered core classes.
Yeah.
But here it's not. Here it's like an elective.
Right.
So that's what I find that crazy that it's an elective here in the US, but in countries like China, India, any of those Asian countries, it is a requirement. It's not an elective.
Is it because their culture's a little different though? Like the women, they're kind of. I don't want to say second class citizens. Well, they kind of.
Well, they are treated, yeah.
So is
In
that
India?
kind of?
Yeah, like,
in a lot of foreign
that's
countries.
pretty much almost every foreign country.
but it's not
outside of,
considered
like,
an
Europe.
elective. Personal finance is a core class in those countries.
because
Yeah.
they
Like-
know.
Oh yeah, well you're talking
Yeah,
about personal.
I like it.
That's real.
yeah.
'Cause
Well,
is
personal
it- Sumi,
finance is a graduation requirement. Just
Oh
Is it?
okay, it is.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Good.
Now it
That's
is?
cool. That's
Now it
cool.
is.
I feel
Now
like it
I'm
So
has
what
been.
about like coding and shit like that?
What
Is
about
that-
business?
No, I'm saying like, well, when it comes to coding, they have business classes.
In high
It's-
school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They had it. They,
All right.
they had it. But I'm talking about coding and like as like they don't no courses on it whatsoever at all. Like
I've never heard of any.
Well, coding, nigga, you were talking about we're not even have fucking gym and you want to teach coding.
well, I mean, there's some
And it-
schools
well,
that could
it
probably
would make sense. It would make
afford
sense
it,
to do
You know,
it.
they need to do like Excel classes, I think, because
Oh, my
at
kids-
this point, if you
Yeah.
just know Excel, like it's
Here's the
easy.
other thing: is as much as technology has advanced, there are so many things that they don't know how to do. Like my kids, they've all had cell phones. They've been addicted to them. They know how to use a computer. But if you make them sit there and try to type a paper, I swear to God, we'll be there for 6 months.
Wow.
Like
So-
it is like the one
That's
finger.
indenting a paragraph. They
Oh
Yeah,
hell
that's a
no.
core class.
No,
That should be.
you know what?
a-
You know what I hate that they took away is home improvement or home
Home ec.
Home
ec
economics, yeah.
and auto shop and workshop.
yeah, we didn't
Auto
have
shop,
any of those.
nigga.
when we
You know
were-
how much
Uh-huh.
it costs to do an oil change?
True that.
$80, $90.
If we learn how to do that
you
yourself,
can do it by yourself. It costs $30 to buy the synthetic oil.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
You know what
easy
other
as
thing-
fuck, actually.
All right, so I'm gonna say this.
But
So
we didn't learn.
as I guess I'd be first generation, right? Who'd be first
First
generation?
generation, yeah.
All right, so as a first generation, like for my parents, like Parents were from Sierra Leone, and I come to this country, and my parents don't really know how things operate in this country, so they expect me to go to school and get an education, right? I don't like, my parents look to me now like I should know all this stuff, like taxes. I should know how to do. Yeah, basically, I should know about my future.
I like that. No.
You should know all that.
Hold on, let me hold on. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like my mom would come to me with questions like, "Yo, they say we got a 15% like premium on something."
You should know it.
Like,
your name is Bashir.
I'm going to a laptop and I'm like, Google 15% premium. What's going on right now? What are we doing? Because the education system is not telling me.
Y'all all got some
you
African names, bro. Y'all niggas should know this shit. I'm
Why? 'Cause
sorry.
we're African?
Exactly.
Goddamn right.
No.
Y'all should be working harder
first
than all of
generation.
us. So what?
But
You should be working harder than us Americans.
That's a phenomenal
I work
point.
harder than y'all.
I don't even know if it. I don't know if it pertains to like just foreign parents, but I'm saying in general, the fact that they don't teach you how to fill out your taxes.
They don't teach you how to live.
And my parents don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I had to teach myself. I had to learn how to do that shit.
First of all, we got TurboTax, so you know how to use a computer.
Well, I mean, that's what I do.
Okay,
but-
exactly.
I'm lucky in the sense that my dad knew how to do it and taught me, but like most people aren't in that
No.
circumstance.
But that's because your dad knows that because of the business that's he.
Yeah,
that
but
the
no,
field
all
that
right,
he's
but
in.
people-
Well, I mean, he's an accountant, so it's
Yeah.
different. Like, of course he has to.
The scary
has to.
thing, I think the scary thing for me though is that like with these life skills is what we call them because we do life skills in our program, which is like
Another place for bad kids.
I think
Life skills. Whenever you see a life skills, I'm like, it's a whole bunch of niggas in there. For real,
These
bro.
are
I
just
hate all
facts.
life skills.
These are just
I would
facts.
argue that it's probably the most important thing that we do.
It was, and I never
Because it's so important. It's like how to rent an apartment or what responsibilities it takes to be a
Own a
roommate
house.
or
a homeowner.
But here's the thing. The sad part is that my kids are not invested in life skills and they tell me all the time, they're like, why do I need to know this? I'm like, mother, it says life skills
Listen,
on the fucking
let me-
thing.
Like, that
But
should be
here's
the
the thing.
main shit.
Let me tell you about life
But here's-
skills real quick. Oh, no,
Shut
finish
your
off. I thought you were almost done.
There's the teacher.
But
Oh shit, sorry.
the
man.
thing is like they're not invested in it because they don't see the reward because there isn't one because life skills is an optional thing, right? And they're not necessarily getting a grade for it or they're not getting a credit for it. They're not getting all this. So to them, like they've been trained to think like, well, if I'm not getting anything for that, I don't find a reason to do it. I don't feel like I need to do
that
it.
has nothing to do with
Kaz.
them being in the situation. That's kids.
That's what I'm
period.
saying
Yeah.
though, like because we as an educational system have completely shifted it to be about I need to pass the standardized test in Algebra 1 and English 2
All right.
more than it is I need to be able to function as a member of society and know those things, but also know how to do taxes and rent an apartment and fold fucking laundry.
As a teacher, Cassie,
true
could you give like maybe bonus points for taking that class specifically,
Extracurriculars.
or is that pushing the kid to do that?
Well, I mean, you
Like-
could, but the other thing is then you risk getting yourself in trouble because you're required to meet certain, you know what I
You
mean?
missing
So
out on something
exactly.
else.
So if they're taking time to do the life skill versus whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing,
I was gonna say about the life skills. You know, I walked in my house the other day, Friday, and my mom's on vacay, so it's just me and my sisters. And I'm walking, and there's a paper stuck to the front door of my house.
Eviction?
No, it ain't eviction. We paying money. No, relax. But it's from it is from like the city of Columbus, and they're like, yeah, the side of your house is like peeling off.
Oh, code.
And it's dirty, yeah.
Code.
And then I'm thinking, so I call my mom, and she's all the way in Toronto. I had to wait for her to call me back because, you know, money shit. She called me, and I was like, she's like, so what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, yo, you think, this is what she said. She said, so the people of Columbus walk around our neighborhood? And I was like, nah, it's probably one of our neighbors that snitched.
Yeah.
So
of
now,
course.
there's a lot of life skills that I'm learning real fast, real quick at once, you know? And I'm like, shit, okay, so what do? I called the motherfuckers. They're like, yeah, we saw a little damage on the side of your house. We can figure this out. Here's a couple painters or whatever. I'm like, bitch, all right, whatever. Shut up. Who told you? She didn't tell me. So from then, I knew someone snitched because I was like, all right, so no one came over. So I walk around my house and it's the top of my chimney, just a little bit of like peeling, and a little bit of dirt. Maybe I could power wash that bitch real quick. But I'm like, dog, teach me these things. I don't know how to change the furnace in my house.
You know what? I feel like
One
the
person can't
education.
know everything,
I feel like the education system in America doesn't really teach you how to do,
How to
but
live.
it teaches you how to research to find out for yourself.
Teaches you how to be
Yeah.
a worker. That's
Yeah.
the goal. It
We're
teaches
the-
you how to be a worker. It doesn't teach you how to be your own person.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's why I feel like we should keep the arts in, because it keeps us creative.
You absolutely
but you,
should.
but you know
Yeah.
why they don't? Because motherfuckers who know arts know. Not to get all hippy dippy, but when you get
You
into
said
like
hippy dippy. Not to get
when you
hippy dippy. But let's
when you
hippy
get
dippy.
into the arts and creativeness and you start learning more about yourself, so then you be like, why am I in this cubicle?
Yeah,
why am I
facts.
working
Yeah.
for? Why
They
am I
don't
doing?
want you.
And the next thing you know, the whole work site of fucking
guess-
collapsed.
They
absolutely.
hate
It's
individualism.
It's what I said earlier.
not with it.
And to tie it back into Kanye
That's
West,
why all
they
celebrities-
want to stifle. They want to stifle creativity. They don't want you to be a free thinker.
Yep.
To tie it back to Kanye,
Do we need another Kanye West?
No,
There's many
No.
Kanye West.
No,
I mean,
yeah, no,
We
no,
will.
well,
They're
like,
all
there's a
Kanye
lot
West.
of positive things. To
They're
what
all
Kanye
Kanye
says,
West, though.
But then I started thinking about if everybody was a Kanye, this place would just look like a
No,
loony
you need
bin.
work. No,
Hell
you,
yeah, I would
need,
love it.
You definitely need workers.
Shit like a crazy
It would look
house.
like a loony
I
bin.
would
People
love
would just
it.
be
We
walking
need
around
workers.
like,
No,
well,
you
I
do
think-
need workers, but I'm saying that's what school is teaching you to do is
Yeah.
to become a worker.
You
but
gotta
they're not
learn the
doing a good
balance
job
both.
of that, though. Like,
No.
You
like,
got to do the balance.
That's the
of
thing,
both.
they're not
one
doing a
side-
good job.
One side of me wants to be like the hippie dude who lives like in trees and dirt and plays a yarmulke, and then the other side of me is like, I want the fuck.
pause.
I want the.
Wait,
I want-
wait. Did you
Matt-
say plays the yarmulke?
You realize the
Do you mean
yarmulke is a
harmonica?
Jewish
No,
cap.
the guitar.
the yarmulke. The
A
yarmulke
yarmulke?
is the cap that the
The
Jews.
cap.
No, what's the
Ukulele.
Ukulele.
Ukulele?
Ukulele.
No, the brand of the
Guitar.
guitar.
That's Yamaha. No, you're talking
No, it's a
about
Yamaha.
the actual guitar brand.
Yeah, it's a Yamaha.
Yeah, that's a piano.
Yeah, but nigga, you said
Yamaha.
Yamaha.
Oh, well, I mean Yamaha. My
Yeah.
fault. But,
Shalom.
But then the other half of me wants the modern house with the bins. Like I walk a fine line between both of those. But I feel like some people just go this side and
Yeah.
some people just go
It just
this
depends on
side.
how you're wired.
Sorry, I had to go. You know, another one they should be teaching is like more of like the social skills, like public speaking. I think that should, as much as I hated it,
Huge.
but like, so we had a marketing and business class, and it's so funny. It's you had to interview for them to get in there. So you had to interview with your whole grade. I got into the marketing class and I learned public speaking, and like PR was a good one too. Just understanding how to form relationships professionally to make them more for yourself. That was the one class that I learned the most in, because it was just, it taught me how to like present myself in public, interview skills. It explained to me how do I approach myself in interview, my body language, that kind of stuff.
I like that a
I
lot.
learned,
I like that a lot.
of that just going through different
I
people.
didn't though. I had to actually go through people to learn that
Yeah.
because I'm a college educated dude, but I didn't go through
But it's
PR
about
or
looking
any
at
speaking.
yourself too.
And so when I like interviewed for a job that I got right now, I was nervous.
Something-
I asked
I'm sorry,
people. I asked like girls that already had jobs that went through
That's
specific
funny.
shit. You know, it's usually just girls. I don't talk to these
Something-
niggas, but they tell me like, all right, this is how to do this, dress like that. Who tells you how to dress for a job interview?
Not a,
No one.
Your dad?
Or
Your
what if you don't
dad,
have a
yeah.
dad?
that's true.
Your mom's gonna not.
what-
That's another topic for the
But
podcast.
something
That is another
that
topic.
like because someone was bringing up public speaking. Something as little as making eye contact with someone when you're talking.
Yeah,
People
that
don't do. Do you know how often
little
I've like
things.
looked at someone and they're just like staring down, and I'm like, "Hey, bro."
Sometimes that's
like-
not something you could teach though.
Well,
some
I mean,
people
I
just
know,
have
but I'm saying,
social
well, no,
orders, like social
I
disorders.
understand that, but for a lot of people, I think the cell phone. Cassie,
Era.
look at me.
Cell
Get
phone
off your
era?
fucking phone, nigga. I see.
Okay, but you know what though? There are so many things in like a job that I can BS, but I learned to do that. You know what I mean? Like you have to tell them you can do the job, and then when you finally get the job, it's just like, all right, improvise, bitch. Like you told them you knew how to work Excel.
I
do
just
your best.
heard this
Oh,
Russ
yeah,
song.
You know what I
fake
mean?
it till you
always-
make it.
Every
Yeah.
man do that.
Yeah.
That's America.
My
We
boss-
fake it till we make it.
My job
Shit.
ain't gonna hear this until I'm done with it. But that ass, they're like, yo, do you know like another language? Bitch, I know Somali. I can't speak it. I didn't say that, but I was like, yeah, we, intermediate speaking, fluently knowing Somali, bitch. They're like, okay, yo, you're a
That shit
Somali speaker.
helps.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Went to work. I told all the Somali
Nigga
speakers.
just go home like, what are you?
No. I told
What are-
all the Somali speakers straight up that are the Somalis that are there. I was like, yo, I can't speak your language, so don't ask me to interpret. It's not happening. I'm not taking it. And straight up, I lied. I did it.
That's what you're supposed to do.
But I didn't.
Straight up, I lied.
Because I really can't.
You had to get what you had to do.
I am fluent in Somali because I know every single
You know
word.
what? You know what's funny? Who hasn't lied on a fucking application, bro?
Of course.
That's how you get the fucking job. You gotta lie.
You lie on all
I
papers.
just-
How much
gotta
money
lie.
do you make a
I
year?
really hope-
60,000. Now give me the fucking credit card.
I really hope this isn't incriminating to
It's
anyone.
not. Because I'm gonna be done with
Hey,
it.
we're starting to get up
Fucking
there in
lie,
numbers,
bro.
bro.
Yo,
Like niggas.
you gotta, you gotta act like the money you want.
Bro, I'm not gonna.
You
Oh,
like-
that's dope. I like that. That's a quote.
You gotta
with
act
that.
like
I
it's in
fuck
your
with
pocket
that.
already,
You
man.
gotta act like the money that you.
Absolutely.
It's already in your bank
Damn.
account.
Bro,
That's
that's
a
why.
good-ass
Hey, look.
quote.
That's why when I say you gotta act like you gotta fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you
I'm
make it.
sorry, Bashir. I almost
No,
knocked
as
over your drink.
Sumi said, like, yo, Excel, I don't know Excel,
Look,
I'm gonna learn it.
You gotta
But
fake
I
it till
got
you make it. So when I say Cassie, I'm your father. I'm really trying to be your father. I'm really.
And
trying
I'm
to
really about to murder you.
Chill.
really trying to get a Cassie's beautiful mom. You know what I'm saying?
Sumi,
Yeah.
that, oh yeah, all right, real quick, that ass on the Excel shit. My coworker, I would say my coworker, yeah, he didn't get another job because he didn't know Excel. I looked at him like, bitch, I could have taught you Excel as Google real quick. Just say you know that shit.
What sucks is when people don't get certain jobs or certain things because they told the truth.
Exactly
Yeah.
him.
It's
He's
like,
like, I
bro,
told
why don't
you.
you just
They
lie?
asked
Coming
if I
from
knew, I
like
was
coming
like,
from
no.
immigrant parents, bro. I swear to God, dude, that's literally the case every single time because they feel like they're so
They
scared.
think yeah.
They're so
I don't want to lie on
scared.
this application.
Yeah, they're just scared.
Bro,
like they can't lie.
Every foreign person I
Fuck
work
that.
with filling out health insurance shook.
Yeah,
Because there's a verifying like portion of it where it's like, I know your street that you used to live on, I know cars in your name, and I know your bank account. That part is is the quickest part, and it spends like 30 minutes. Huh. You know where I live? No. I live in Cincinnati now. What do you mean, dog? It says you used to live in Cleveland. Huh?
it's like,
It's like your street. I tell him the street, he goes, yeah, so okay. I'm like, bitch, shut the fuck
Oh man.
Oh, man.
All right, to wrap it up, guys. Yeah, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate our special guest.
I
Cassie.
love this episode.
Thanks
by the way.
for
I
having
think it's gonna
me.
be a good one.
Yeah,
You're
man.
welcome.
It was really it needed to be spoke about. I mean, I hope some people and most of our listeners are in America, and we hope they spread this around and spread our thoughts.
Oh yeah, don't get it twisted.
And
though.
give it
We
more.
got niggas abroad. Ha, we have abroad listeners. You bitch ass niggas.
Oh my.
said
I
you
also
bitch
just
ass
want to
niggas.
say,
Be international.
Fuck off. I'm gonna chop Bashir in half.
I love you too, Cass.
No, I just want to say I'm
ahead.
not speaking on behalf of all teachers, and my situation is very unique. So if I said
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
people don't
sure.
agree with, that's
yeah,
That's fine. I
That's
love.
fair.
Speaking of chopping Bashir in half, there's like a human. no. I just thought about it. in the Congo right now. There's like mass genocide going on. There's like ethnic
Right
cleansing
now?
going
Fun
on. Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
way to take us out on a high note.
See, bro, that's crazy. You know what? Why don't I?
Like,
Why the fuck?
hello?
I never heard that shit. I
Of course
never
you don't
heard
know.
about
in
that
the,
shit.
In the CRC right now, there's little girls that are getting married off. Like I saw something. This is on Vice. There's a 10-year-old. There was a 12-year-old girl who got married off to a 40-something-year-old man. But hey, happy Saturday, everybody. Curtis, take us out.
This is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, we appreciate y'all. Love y'all, man. Y'all have a good week. Live with a good vibe. Yeah, we out.
Be sure to be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. You can follow us at social_critics. 2 S's on the critics.